Alright, doing a tier list on Monday, which is a little bit unusual for the channel. Today, we're going to be determining the biggest winners and losers of Dota 7.41 in a tier list format. The way we're going to be doing this is almost entirely statistics based, so we're going to be looking at the win rate change in a percentage of all of the heroes in the game and sorting them into one of 5 categories that you can see on screen. This is almost going to be an entirely statistically based tier list. My own personal opinions might be discussed, but really just for the heroes that I have strong opinions on. I have some thoughts on 7.41 and 7.41a. The timing of this is quite interesting because it is being done on Sunday night. On last Monday, we had the final day of 7.40. So the win rate percentages that we're going to be looking at are the ones on the final day of the previous patch, along with how their win rate changed in 7.41 main, and then how they were further refined in 7.41a. So in a weird way, we're looking at the stats from 3 different patches here. The most important ones we're going to be considering, though, are 7.40, the final day, and 7.41a, or the matchmaking data from the most recent day of matchmaking. Once again, stats-based tier list. This is meant to be more of a resource at a glance than something that goes super in-depth into every single change of the heroes. That's too much to cover. We might be talking about some changes for heroes, but not too many of them. As for the tiers, we have Giga Buffed. These refer to the heroes that are the meta dominators of the patch as a result of their win rate changing. The example I'll give for this is Tidehunter. In the previous patch, Tidehunter had like a 49.9% win rate. It was like barely below 50, and that's fine. That's a win rate where you can pick Tidehunter and win. It's fine. But even though he was already okay, Valve sort of Giga buffed the shit out of him. And so he's arguably the biggest winner of 7.41a right now. Even though I don't think he has quite the highest win rate, but he had the biggest percentage swing. So he's still going to go in Giga buffed as a result. Cycled in are heroes that are definitely buffed, and it seems like Valve has intentionally or unintentionally inserted them into the meta. It's the same. Are heroes that have like barely changed. These are heroes that were either completely unmentioned in the patch notes or simply have gone along just fine. It's the same for them. Relegated are heroes who have lost a couple points on the win rate chart. There's going to be quite a few of these, obviously. But the big thing for them is they don't necessarily, like, you can probably still play them if you really want. And then finally we have ceremonially removed. These are the heroes that got like shit on. There's not going to be a whole lot of heroes in this tier, but there's a couple heroes who have like had more than 4% win rate loss, which is nuts. One of them is Largo. Thank goodness. Ooh, I'm started that hero. So with all that in mind, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with Abaddon, and while he will not be in the bottom tier, he is effectively in the least interesting tier, which is the same. Valve didn't really change much about him. They just kind of did a little number rework, and then they kind of changed the way his innate works to be maybe a little bit more useful. He does have a very tiny win rate bump, and he technically did cross an important threshold. He went from just under 50 to just over 50, which is good, but a 0.2% win rate change isn't really important. Abba is the same. Carry Abba and offlane Abba are dead. Long live the pause 5. Alchemist is interesting because he actually saw a massive spike in professional interest. There were a couple of pro games where Alch did crazy good, and that's what led to his nerfs in 7.41a. As far as the pub scene goes, though, it's like nothing. Like, actually, nothing changed about him at all. He currently sits at a net win rate improvement of 0.4, which isn't very much. I think if you're less than 0.5%, you're effectively is the same. This is a stats-based tier list, but, you know, keep in mind that NA math. Ancient Apparition is actually a bit of a relegation here. His win rate dropped below the 50% mark when it was above it before. Part of this is a meta change. It's a little bit easier to access anti-heal stuff, but the bigger thing is the removal of the Death Rhyme mechanic, and we saw Valve sort of apologize for that in 7.41a, buffing the impact of the innate. So AA is still playable, and he's definitely a good counter pick, but he solidly got nerfed. Anti-Mage also got nerfed. A bit of a win rate drop. I'm not entirely sure why. In fact, I thought that the changes that they made to Blink would be good for him, because his level 1 Blink is now further. However, his ulti is much worse, so that level 6 power spike that you have against offlaners where you're maybe able to get that kill, that got worse, and then his ability to impact mid-game team fights, not that he's showing up to them anyway, also got worse because of the Mana Void nerfs. So I don't know why Valve chose to nerf him as hard as they did. Oh, and also, because Persecutor no longer scales off of his Q, you don't get the really powerful slow effect Once you get more levels into it, you get it to like level 3 and you can chase them very effectively. You can't do that anymore. So those kind of things combined went to offset the level 1 blink buff. Anti-Mage has been relegated. He's no longer in the meta. Nor was he ever arguably in the meta, but I digress. In another unexpected move, Arc Warden actually had a significant increase in his win rate, 0.7%, which is actually quite meaningful for Arc Warden, which is kind of a surprise because when looking at his patch notes, they nerfed his stat gain, which is a big deal for Arc because remember, the changes are effectively doubled. The thing that they buffed about him though is that the clone doesn't feed nearly as much gold at early levels. The scaling is now, instead of being, I think it was 180 at level 1, it's now 70 plus 10 per level. So that means at level 1, you're only feeding 130 gold, and it takes quite a while. You need to hit level 17 before it maxes out with the degree of feeding that it did before. So that could be it, but to be honest, I'm not 100% sure why. Interestingly enough, his pick rate went up as well. So it's not even a matter of like people abandoning the hero, and then only the really dedicated Arc Warden players play him. He's in a good spot right now, though. He's approaching 52% in terms of win rate as of the second full day of 7.41a matchmaking, which is good. Axe also got buffed. Axe's buff is a little bit strange. I think it's due to the way that they reworked his permanent scaling on armor, which is good, and then they also made him take his good facet. One of the trends you'll see is because Valve went in and removed a lot of the bad facets, you're basically forced to pick the good one now on a massive chunk of heroes. And that leads to like a fake increase in their win rate because you're no longer picking the facet that is bad. His old facet, Call Out, would increase the attack speed of heroes that were affected by his Q. That has been removed from the game, which means that you have to pick the one that increases his strength based on armor when he's alone, which was also the better one. So he got a plus 1.46%, which is probably one of the biggest win rate increases of the patch. And he was already good in 7.40, so he is solidly cycled into the meta. Axe is back, baby. Bane is quite similar, I think. Previously, we had the thing where you could use Nightmare in order to suck someone's attack speed, I think, and you could use that. That has been removed in favor of making the Sleepwalk an innate part of his kit. It's not his innate. His innate is the new permanent scaling thing, where if you die while affected by him, he deals more... Wait, no, you lose status resistance specifically to him, I think. It's a little bit weird. But once again, being forced to pick the good facet. Sadly, this is a major setback for mid-Bane. Any day now, it'll be a thing. But yeah, Bane is good. Bane is quite good. Being forced to pick the good facet helps him. He's still below a 50% win rate. So in a weird way, I'm not entirely sure if he's like in the meta, but like he definitely got some much needed love. And I expect this to creep up over time as well. Even though he is below a 50% win rate, I do think he is trying to be cycled into the game. And I expect to see a couple more buffs for him in the ensuing letter patches. Batrider is also a hero that has benefited quite a bit. He is not quite a meta dominator, or wasn't in 7.40, even though I thought the hero was really good. His ability to play as like a right-click core was crazy strong and fucking miserable to play against. But taking that away from him, the level 5 Sticky Napalm, where to place on right-click, has actually resulted in a massive increase in his win rate. He's now above 50%, which for Batrider is actually quite high. This is a hero who traditionally has a low win rate. But anytime he's above 50% in pubs, you know he's a goddamn menace. Not a whole lot of changes to him outside of that, but I think, well, he still has access to it at level, I think it's level 15 or 20. But yeah, overall, Batrider, his win rate has gone up significantly. He went 3.5%. So in a weird way, the facet that I thought was good has been removed, and now people, I guess, are picking the good one by default. So yeah, Batrider is going to be a major meta threat going forward. I think almost entirely as an offlaner, though. I think mid Batrider is still not quite a thing. He also got the movement speed buff on Firefly. That's what it is. So an escalating movement speed buff on Batrider is quite good. So cycled into the meta, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him. He's going to become a more popular hero as we go on. Beastmaster is also kind of a weird one. Giving him 2 Hawks, I think, was a major mistake. I don't think it's fair to give him 2 Aghanim shards immediately. I think the idea behind it is that they want to push people away from the from being required to go the Aghanims build. And they also nerfed the axes in a way to do that too, because I don't think they're keen on position 1 Beastmaster. I don't blame them. I'm not keen on it myself. But regardless of the reasoning, he wound up getting up in 2.6% win rate, and he is now approaching 50% as well. Ultimately, I still don't think he's great, but he's definitely a winner of the patch. He is still below a 50% win rate, but he arguably won the patch because of his win rate increase. He used to be dog shit before. Part of that was people, towards the very tail end of the previous patch, picking him as a position 1. That no longer happens, so maybe that's the thing that's really affecting his win rate. Bloodseeker is interesting. So they buffed him and nerfed him in the same way. So they didn't do a whole lot to him. They made it so that you can no longer cast Blood Rage on another hero on your team, which is sad for the Zeus players of the world. I guess we're going to put Batrider and Gigabuffed, actually, because of that win rate change being 3.5%. Back to Bloodseeker. With him, I think it was a case of a lot of the other meta carries getting shunted out. Like, Shadow Fiend is nowhere near as good, Clinkz is nowhere near as good, and some of the problem heroes for Bloodseeker, such as Largo, for example, have also been cycled out. So it's not so much him getting better as it is just, like, his problems going away. They also slightly buffed his level 25 talent, which is the Bloodrite silence duration. It's now like a 9-second silence, or maybe 8.5. It's like a stupid long silence. I do think you still go the other one, but that's okay. It's the Thirst movement speed bonus. I think it's 18%. Which basically puts you above haste all the time if anyone is low, which is quite good. So yeah, Bloodseeker, who I already thought was good, is now going to be a major part of the meta going forward, and is a tier 1 carry. Notably, I believe he was untouched in 7.418, but I'm not 100% sure. Bounty is a weird example. I thought that he was going to get buffed, but it turns out it's actually a nerf. So what they did with him is they replaced his old innate, which was the thing that gives him gold whenever he targets you. They compensated for this by increasing the amount of gold seal on Janata, which makes it a lot more fair, because now he only has one way to do it, and it involves walking up to you. But then they replaced it with the big game hunter thing, where he gets bonuses based on killing enemy heroes who were in the top 3 of their team's net worth. Which to me sounds like easy enough to proc that I thought for sure that it would be good. But it turns out it's not. He has a very small win rate decrease, 0.21%, but it's enough to get him below 50%. So Bounty Hunter, he's basically the same. He was slightly reworked in the way that he steals your gold, but ultimately he's the same. His place in the meta remains as it is. Brewmaster is a hero who I thought was sneak broken in the previous patch, and it looks like Valve agreed. They wound up tamping down a little bit on some of the abilities that the Brewlings have, and this does not stop him from being good. There was a build that sort of got discovered in the previous patch where people started eschewing the idea of going traditional offlaner items, and they went like Midas into Ags into Octarine and Refresher, and just like focused entirely on being in the ultimate the entire time, which is very, very strong. That build is, I think, getting a little bit more popular, and as a result, his win rate has creeped up, but I don't think it's a result of the patch. I think he's ultimately the same as he was. It's just people are adapting him to a more interesting new meta. Overall, he wasn't touched very much, just some very slight nerfs to the Brewling abilities, but ultimately it's the same. I don't think people are learning Brewmaster because of this patch. I think Brewmaster players are just wising up to the more interesting way to play him. So it's the same for him. Bristleback is, I mean, he got buffed slightly. They increased the stack limit of Nasal Goo. I think it's now at 6 over 4, which is a meaningful buff, right? I think they slightly gave him a worse level 25 talent. It's like the threshold for Bristleback to proc instead of the spell amp. Overall, he's fine. He's fine. Plus 1.21. I don't think he's going to be a big meta pick, but even so, he is inching closer and closer to the 50%. Good for him. Broodmother is a bit of a weird example. Looking at her initial patch notes, I actually thought that she would be buffed. Insatiable Hunger now applies to the Spiderlings, but she had a couple of like small nerfs in random places. The big thing for her was the removal of the facet that reduced your HP regeneration. And that was the thing that I think made Broodmother really strong. I thought she would still be pretty competent as a carry, but her win rate dropped somewhat significantly. She's going to go unrelegated. She's not quite completely out of the meta, but I do think the thing that made her strong is no longer like in the game. And so they have to buff her in a bunch of other different weird ways. For now, though, she is relegated. She's not quite one of the biggest losers, but she's down there. She's down there. Don't pick Brood this patch, I guess. Unless you're really into her and you're being paid to boost accounts, in which case you can probably get away with it. Centaur Warrunner also got nerfed somewhat significantly. Removing the Rawhide innate ability was a massive blow to him, because that ability to passively gain HP over time in a long game really added up. Like, it didn't seem like a lot. It was like every 2 minutes you get 30 HP, but that's, even that You know, when I say that, it actually does sound like a lot. So, because it was. The strength gain increase was not enough to compensate. Yeah, he's ultimately relegated. One of the downsides of him, he also dropped from 51% down to 49%, which is tough. Tidehunter is so good right now that, like, why would you pick Centaur when you can pick Tide? That's the other half of it. He's just outclassed by some of the really good heroes. So unfortunately, he's been relegated out of the meta. CK, interesting ideas with CK. They removed Reigns of Chaos, and they gave him the new innate that affects his neutral item building. He gets an additional random enchantment. I was told it was broken. I heard that you can, in fact, get, like, nerfed things. But being unable to apply random-ass status effects with your W and also not spawning bonus illusions is tough. The new Aghanim Scepter thing, where you could, in theory, control, like, if a Shadow Demon uses his Q on you, you get to control the illusions, and that's very funny. But the Shadow Demon can just not do that, so I don't get the point. How does that work with Terrorblade Q, by the way? I should test that. Does a Chaos Knight illusion spawn and just beat Terrorblade's ass instead? That would be pretty funny. I guess it's uncontrollable. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he is ceremonially removed from the game. He was like a sneak, really strong position 1 pick, but his win rate got dumpstered. He's going to be our first ceremonially removed hero. A 4% win rate drop below 50% is tough for CK. Next up is Chen, and Chen is kind of weird. I've talked to a couple of Chen players about the changes that they've made. Valve actually went back and, like, shadow removed some of the buffs that they gave him. So, like, you can no longer convert neutral creeps, or not neutral creeps, lane creeps into zealots. Well, I guess you never could, but, like, Valve said you could. And then they went back and removed it. It was weird. I've been told the hero is a buggy, broken shit mess. But curiously enough, his win rate has not changed, because Chen, low-key, he's always been a broken, shitty bug mess. In a weird way, because his patch notes were ceremonially removed, I almost want to put him down here, but I think we're just going to put him in relegated for now. He was not a major player in the previous meta. He's definitely not going to be a major player now. Sorry. Clinkz. Clinkz got relegated. This hero was a massive problem in the previous patch. He is no longer a massive problem. His win rate dropped by 2.6%. He's now below 50. He's in the 49 range. You know, he's not completely unplayable. But I think over time, a lot of people got better at playing against him, treating him a little bit more like the Invis assassin hero that he has always been. And then the strafe multiplier, the attack speed that the Skellies would get, has been reduced as well. He's also slower. And Clinkz, if you played any Clinkz last patch, you know that he is painfully slow already. So yeah, Clinkz is no longer a huge problem. Long live Clinkz. Clinkz is dead. In that order. Clockwork is... Losing out on the facets was a massive problem for him. He no longer is that interesting, which is a shame. It's a damn shame. He missed out on some of his more interesting talents. Even the chainmail thing, I think, got nerfed. Because I think you gained 5 armor before, now you only get 4 when you buy them, even though they're cheaper. Yeah. Removing the ability to make the cogs big and then play pinball with your opponents has completely rewritten the way that Clockwork is meant to be played. So he went from a very powerful hero to, like, a shit hero. Borderline unpickable, I would say. His pick rate has plummeted as a result as well. Yeah. Don't play Clockwork. He has been ceremonially removed from the game, paying for the war crimes of his previous incarnation. Very Buddhist. Crystal Maiden is an interesting one. She's definitely a threat in the meta now. Being able to convert a good chunk of the mana that you spend into physical barrier is huge, because that is what she is weak to. She has no armor, she's very slow. It doesn't make her less susceptible to spells, but what it does is it sort of diversifies her weaknesses in a way that is beneficial to her. Because the amount of mana that she's spending on her spells is humongous, and the barrier lasts long enough. It's like 8 seconds. So you pop ulti, and you get a fat physical damage barrier on top of, like, Glimmer Cape, right? Or maybe even have a Solar Crest or Rope of Ice. You're now very difficult to kill, because you have all of that, plus whatever barrier you already made. And people have started realizing that it's kind of broken. Her win rate was above 50% before, and now it's almost at 53%. Or closer to 52.5%. So yeah, Crystal Maiden is definitely a big part of the meta now. Crystal Maiden Bloodseeker, I got to play this exact combo in a game earlier today. And that shit beats streaks. Play this. Darkseer is tough. They gave him sort of... He had the thing before where you convert int to attack speed, and people like it. It's funny. but like it doesn't fucking matter, and it never did. Overall, I couldn't entirely tell you why, because he didn't get a whole lot of patch notes, but Darkseer has been relegated. Win rate dropped by over 2%. He's now solidly below 50%. He's below 49% even, which by Dota standards is ass. So we're going to put him in relegated for now. But he's not giga nerfed. They really didn't do that whole much to him, but somehow I guess the people who were good at Darkseer stopped playing him. So what can you do? Dark Willow's win rate also dropped. She was already not good in the first place, but now it's whatever. Not a whole lot of a difference when it comes to her. They reworked the way her innate works, and I believe it works the way it was originally intended to before. So in the previous patch, her innate would buff her regen whenever she was untargetable, but it only worked in Shadow Realm. Now, if you use a Yule's, I'm pretty sure it works, which is good. And then she also has the passive amplification. In fact, if you look purely at the patch notes, you would say that she got buffed. But the numbers clearly disagree. She got worse. She already wasn't great, and now she's in the 48% range. So boo-hoo to the Dark Willow players. My greatest condolences, but I don't feel bad for you at all. Dawnbreaker is kind of fucking a problem. I literally remember saying, like, in the patch notes, like, this hero is going to be a menace. Because I already thought she was pretty good in the previous patch, and then they buffed her even more. They increased her base damage by 6, which is nuts in the lane. She might honestly go and giga buffed. Yeah, she is. She's like above 53% now. We're gonna put her up in here. I think her ability to deal right-click damage is going to be the thing that people build around now, as opposed to the healing and like showing up and popping auras and making everyone live. Now, because you're able to focus more on your right clicks, the luminosity healing is increased, and that helps your team anyway. So, you know, if the numbers are bigger, the numbers are bigger. Surprise. She is very good. Also, her level 10 talent, where you get bonus movement speed to allies when they're in the Celestial Hammer Trail, that shit's broken. It's very, very good. I gave it some oohs and ahs in the initial patch note reading, and I did it for a good reason. Dawnbreaker is probably one of the top 3 offlaners this patch now. She's not the best, Tidehunter is, but she's quite good. Dazzle, I feel like I've been seeing a lot more of him, but he's like actually bad. I say bad, he's actually still above a 50% win rate, which is quite normal for Dazzle. Usually heroes with heals tend to be above 50%, who would have thought? But he's much worse than he was before. Weave no longer leveling with the ultimate means that you don't get those big power spikes, and then Not the Projection no longer hard dispels Dazzle when you end it, which is kind of a problem. One of the things that Dazzle was pretty good at in the previous patch is, like, let's say they come and they find your ghost, you can always just end it to get the hard dispel and then Shallow Grave yourself, but you don't have that option anymore. If they're on you, they're on you. And also it lost the Aghanim Shard upgrade, which is tough as well. So he's no longer going to be a major threat in the meta, but he is still like a decent support, and you can play him. Stop playing mid Dazzle. Death Prophet was bad in the previous patch, even though I think she was okay. She is still bad. Not a whole lot happened to her. A lot of numbers that kind of didn't mean anything. They changed the scaling on Witchcraft, as they did for most innates, and they buffed the speed of silence, and they reworked a ton of her talents, and all of it amounted to literally nothing. Her win rate dropped by just under 0.5%. Ultimately, it's the same. She was bad. She is bad. She will be bad, most likely. Valve seem to be scared of the idea of good Death Prophet. They're not scared of good Disruptor, though. Or rather, not good, but really annoying Disruptor. They made his innate deal damage because of fucking course they did. That's the state of Dota balance in the mid-2020s. Thunderstrike, it got a funny talent at, I think at level 25, where it hits 6 times now, and that's cool. And now he can, in theory, have both Kinetic Field and Kinetic Fence, but it's not that big of a deal. He sort of got power crept by some of the other position 5s that got buffed, so he's going to go in relegated for now. He dropped from above 50 to below 50, and that's tough. Doom. Whoo. Whoo, baby. He is another top 3 offlaner this patch. Doom is extremely strong. His win rate skyrocketed, and, well, it's funny because it skyrocketed because it was 46% before, which is unplayable dog shit. And now it's like almost 50%, and that's very scary for Doom. He's another hero that you kind of don't want to have a positive win rate, but he got more than a 3% buff in terms of win rate, and he's very popular now as well. Turns out that taking almost every single number on the hero and making it some variation of 6 is good. 6 is above average as far as numbers go in Dota, because the numbers go from 0 to 9. So 6 is actually rapidly approaching the top third of those potential numbers. The Devil is strong in Dota right now. Very good. People are still kind of figuring out what to do with him. I've seen Radiance on him. I've seen like an Octarine Rush combined with Midas, which I played before to mixed success. But Scorched Earth is a much, much stronger ability. His lane is a lot better. His innate doesn't matter. But yeah, just getting all of his numbers buffed in order to accomplish the meme, turns out makes a hero pretty good. So Doom is at a still below 50, but he's very, very good. And in high level matchmaking, he's even better. He's above 50 there. Dragon Knight. His win rate was like ass in the previous patch, and it's still ass. He did get a buff, but he's still like below 49% in terms of win rate. His impact on the meta has not changed. It's the same. It really sucks. I feel bad because like the Dragon Knight of all the heroes made a lot of. Okay, I'm going to talk about something right now. I'm going to finish that sentence though. It was a good way of displaying facets and what they are, and now that that's removed, it's gotten rid of that. In the wake of facets being removed, a lot of people have come out and said like, oh, this actually was intentional the whole time, right? Valve wanted to test hero reworks, make them opt in, try out things that are a little bit too experimental to just shove into the game and let be. Facets were always meant to be a temporary way of testing these things. Look, I like that idea, and it makes Valve sound smart. And when it comes to me, I will oftentimes make shit up to make Valve sound smart to me. I don't believe that for a fucking second. And the reason I don't believe that is because of the Dragon Knight Groundfall skin. If Valve always intended for facets to be a temporary thing that was in the game for 1.5 to 2 years to test out a bunch of reworks, they wouldn't have made that skin. The fact that skin exists makes me think that Valve really did intend for facets to be a permanent part of Dota going forward. And then at some point over the past 6 months, probably a little bit before they added Largo, they eventually made the decision to remove them. Now, I agree with facets being removed. I think that they added an additional layer of complexity to Dota that didn't need to be there. Heroes are already like enough as they are. You don't need multiple versions of them, and it's an undue amount of cognitive load to put on the players to memorize every single facet for every single character. Most people didn't anyway, because it's what, over 260 versions of heroes? Like, no, fuck that. No one's gonna remember that. But I really do think that Valve intended it to be a permanent part of the game, and only over the last 6 months did they decide to remove them. During Crownfall, it was absolutely meant as a permanent part of the game, and the DK skin is proof of that. Maybe not proof, but I think the whole like, oh, Valve genius 200 IQ 4D chess, I think that that's cope, actually. I think this was Valve legitimately just realizing we made a bad decision and we're going to roll it back, which is good. DK is proof of that for me. Also, they did not buff him. He's still shit. Don't pick DK. Drow Ranger. She got some interesting changes. They changed the Gust knockback, which actually is kind of important for her. She was able to take good advantage of hitting people with the very tippy tip of Gust and still pushing them away a decent amount. Now it doesn't push them back nearly as far, and then if you get hit by the mid, it pushes them back halfway, which is tough. That kind of mechanical change screwed over Drow more than it did almost any other hero. They gave her multi-shot for free, and they nerfed the shit out of Glacier. There you go. Multi-shot, moving while multi-shot, they gave her that for free. She is no longer in the meta. She is no longer an important hero. She had a pretty good win rate in the previous patch, despite my reservations in the carry tier list, because I think that she was too generic to really be good. But she's always going to be a popular pick at lower MMRs. Right now, she has a tanked win rate. I'm actually going to put her in ceremonially removed, because the changes to Glacier were a huge deal and resulted in a more than 3% drop in win rate. She went from 51.5% to 48.5%. Like, that's tough. Earth Spirit's an interesting one. When you took a look at the new way his ability scale, all of his level 1 stuff is a lot better. Well, it's really just Boulder Smash and Geomagnetic Grip, but those are his 2 really important laning tools, so I don't think it should be a surprise that he is better. He's cycled in. He's above 50%. He's another hero who's very scary when they're above 50%, because the specialists are going to drive that higher and higher as the patch goes on. Earth Spirit buffs were meaningful. Congratulations to the Earth Spirit players. The Earth Shaker players, however, congratulations to them too. I hate this hero, man. The period of time where Earthshaker was a really solid mid has soured me on Earthshaker forevermore. Slugger is basically the same as it was. If anything, it kind of got buffed because you're able to access increased Slugger damage before level 6, which matters a lot for the lane. And then they buffed the stun duration of Fissure and buffed the radius of Aftershock. They took the things that Earthshaker is good at and made them better. He's good. He's a good hero now. I think he's not a mid still, I think he's probably better off still as a position 3 or maybe a very greedy 4 if you have a very self-sustaining 3. But yeah, Earthshaker is good. Cycle back into the meta. Welcome back. Please don't stay long. Elder Titan, who was already not great, he got his innate removed, tipped the scales, and he got it replaced with a weird, like, armor movement speed thing. The problem with that is that if Elder Titan is hitting you, you are not hitting him back. You are running away. The briefcase hurts, dude. The briefcase hurts bad. That alone was not enough to help him out very much. He had a small cooldown update for his ultimate as well, but it's just not enough to help him, and his win rate dropped significantly. He's now below, he's like in the 47s now. He's bad. Do not play Elder Titan. Ember Spirit. This is one that a lot of people were like, he's shit now because they removed the facet for Chain Gang. No. They finally did the thing. Oh my god. They buffed Slate of Fist, which never happens. It's bonus hero damage at early levels, which is huge. And then they also reduced a mana cost on Ember. I haven't gone through the changelog and looked. I feel like they haven't done that in years. Helping Ember by reducing his mana cost is not something Valve does, but they did it, and as a result, he's above 50%. I think as time goes on, people are going to get better and better at utilizing him, and I think people were already getting practice in the previous patch because he was definitely playable with Chain Gang. But yeah, he's quite good. And also, you can now do the thing because, what's the baby Radiance neutral item called? Cloak of Flames. You can now have your innate dealing AoE damage, Cloak of Flames, and in theory, you can get a Radiance. So standing next to him, you can wind up dealing, like, I don't know, old patch Largo tier magic damage just by being near Ember Spirit. Yeah, he's back in the meta. He arguably was never gone, but now he's back. Enchantress, nothing. Like, a couple of numbers. They basically made the innate where when you enchant someone, you get bonus attack range on them. They made that her default. They took away the automatic sprites that heal her. And that was probably a good change. I think the previous instance was unhealthy for the game. I think Valve agreed. So they did that. They gave her a little bit of compensatory buff. They also made Nature's Attendance UI actually make goddamn sense. That's all she is. It's the same. Everything balanced out to be the exact same. Her win rate went up by 0.14%, which is totally attributed to just, like, nothing. That can just happen. Like, one good day for Eng players, and that could happen. So, yeah, buffs and nerfs didn't matter. Enigma is actually a hero who I was really concerned about in the patch, but his win rate went down significantly. The Gravity Well going away is one thing. I thought that his new innate that slows everyone near him in a massive radius would matter a lot. Turns out it doesn't. In the lane, it's not a huge deal to get 5% slowed all the time. It is a minor inconvenience. And then that's it. That's all they did to him. So in a weird way, he sort of got power crept, if anything. His win rate dropped by 1.37, so that's enough to put him down and relegated. I think he's still playable, though. Faceless Void, a lot of changes to him. I think this is another case where removing his dog-shaped facet made him better. He's got a lot of patch notes. A lot of them don't matter. The big thing was time dilation pausing during Chronosphere, which I swear to God was already in the game, but apparently it wasn't. Doing that with Aghanim Shard is good. Taking away his old Aghanim Shard is bad, but it's not a big deal. Getting rid of Time Zone is a bigger deal than nerfing him in any other way. Ultimately, he is kind of the same. He had an above 50% win rate. Now he's got a 51% win rate. It's not a huge deal. I'm going to put him in as the same, but he's like borderline cycled in. I still don't think he's a great pickup if you don't have any obvious combos. And Jakiro got nerfed bigly, but in a way that somehow didn't matter. We'll talk about him when we get to him. Grimstroke, however, fat buffs. There's a guy who comments on a lot of my videos saying, please buff Grimstroke. Congratulations. It happened. Not a whole lot changed for him. I couldn't tell you exactly why he's better. I think it's because the innate that got buffed. He takes less damage from people that he right-clicks or that he affects with his abilities, which is pretty good when you're using Inkswell as like a panic defensive option, because it's pretty much guaranteed to apply to whoever's chasing you. I think he's cycled in. Not a whole lot changed to him. I think part of it is like meta developments, and that's really all I have to say. Grimstroke is cool. Grimstroke is fun. You should play him. Shoot your enemies with guns. Ink guns. I couldn't think of a way to make that work. Tattoo guns? Should have done that. Oh well, too late. Gyrocopter is shit. He is bad. I almost would have put him in ceremonially removed. He wasn't doing great in the previous patch, and now he's like even worse. So removing Chop Chop wasn't a huge deal, but it's just nothing. They decreased his movement speed and gave him something to compensate, but for the most part, it really just feels like he is ass. Like he got power crept in every possible way. He's a very bad hero right now. Do not pick him. He has a win rate of 46%, which is a shame because I actually have a lot of fun with Gyrocopter. He's one of my more preferred heroes and one who I was really looking forward to testing out. I didn't get to play him. All I know is that he's shit. So 46% win rate tells the whole story. Ceremonially removed from the game, and he was already kind of removed from the game. now it's just ceremonial, I guess. He'll come back as a ghost. Crownfall 2, Gyrocopter dies of old age. Should be that's the primary thing that comes forward. Gyrocopter Arcana, where it's his hot human granddaughter and in a bikini. There we go. There you go, Valve. Just made you $1 billion. Can I have some of it? Hoodwink. They didn't do a whole lot to her. Well, they kind of did, actually, but it kind of wound up just being nothing. They made it so that her evasion doesn't get doubled. It's instead the innate chance of attacks hitting trees instead, which is good. Her win rate went up slightly. It's still below 50%, but hey, I had to play against a Glipnir Hoodwink earlier today, and that shit was not fun. That shit was not fun. And you can hit Spirit Bear with your ulti. That's cool. It's the same. She's the same. Huskar. Man. He was already like an okay hero in the previous patch. I still think it's funny that he had int gain at all, considering he doesn't have mana cost and doesn't do anything with them. They sort of gave the facet that alters spear damage into pure, they gave the downside innately, but also made it so that it deals percentage of max HP, which is broken. A lot of side grades to him, and then now cauterizes on his shard, which I think is a much more fair way to do it, as opposed to giving him access to it in the lane, which was an unfair way to do it. Overall, he's like mostly the same. He had about a 1% increase in win rate, but he's still below 50%, and that's fine. Huskar should be a last pick, auto win the game, otherwise lose type of hero. Invoker. So, Invoker got like shit stomped. He might be the biggest loser so far. He went from an above 50% win rate, above 51%, down to 46.6. He is pretty shitty right now, and I couldn't 100% tell you why. They increased the max level of all of his orbs. They gave him the Build-A-Bear, Shard, and Scepter system. And that's it. That's it. I do not understand why he dropped 4.5%. Maybe it's... The big thing, I guess, is the talent swap. Because he used to be able to get +1 orb level of whatever facet he chose at level 15. Now he doesn't get it. It's like an alacrity buff. Which doesn't really matter that much to him. Yeah, he's very, very bad, and I don't know why. He dropped almost 4.5% of win rate since 7.40. Don't pick Invoker. He's really bad. IO. IO mains complained. They complained hard. They were upset because his new innate, like, didn't... What was it? It was like his new innate doesn't result in incoming damage reduction to his partner anymore, and that's bad. But they kind of just, like, gave him... like regen amp instead, which I don't know if that's better or worse. Either way, IO players complained, and it turns out this hero is really good. So all I know is that they are babies. That's what I'm trying to say. IO's fine. He got buffed ever so slightly. He's never going to be a part of the meta in the pubs because he is IO. Other than that, he's good. Jakiro. Jakiro got nerfed in a very realistic way. He was a very good position 5 in the previous patch. His win rate didn't necessarily reflect that, I don't think, for some reason. They gave a mana cost to Liquid Fire and Liquid Frost, and that's pretty much it. And then they made Double Trouble his innate instead. Or they gave him the damage reduction. How would you describe it? It's like a reduction, but it gets less bad over time. They made that as an innate part of him, and then they gave a mana cost on Liquid Fire and Liquid Frost. But that liquid, it doesn't really matter, because the cooldown is such that in the early game, it rounds down to being 0 anyway. It just means that your mana regeneration gets to do something, and you go mana boots on the hero anyway. But in the late game, it kind of matters, because they're on like a 4-second cooldown, so you're using them a lot. In a weird way, though his win rate did go down, I honestly think he's the same. Well... He was so good. I'm going to put him in relegated because that statistically makes sense. And he was at such a height before, and now he's much worse. He's going to go unrelegated for Jakiro. You can definitely still pick him, though. He's very pickable still. Sort of the little things about Jakiro that cannot be nerfed, such as Double Trouble and all of its upsides, being able to kill couriers from a distance as a ranged hero, being able to instantly deward, some really good uses against things like Undying Tombstone or Weaver Bugs. Those things are still in the game, and those things matter a lot for him. So relegated. Juggernaut, they tried to buff him. They didn't. They gave him his good innate, which was Blade Form, which is the weird stacking thing over time. It's not enough. It's not enough. He is ass. He is still... it's going to be a long time before Juggernaut is good again. Small buffs that somehow wound up not giving him anything. His win rate dropped after arguably getting buffed. So relegated. Relegated for Jug. Keeper of the Light. Woo! Ooh, baby. This is a crazy strong pick now. It's not even necessarily because of the items. I thought that Krella's Crozier would be really good on him. Not so much. He definitely still prefers E-Blade, and I didn't think about the opportunity cost of going Krella's Crozier. But he is an extremely good mid right now. They replaced his innate with something that actually does something. It makes him get additional movement speed off of int, which is nice. And then he also affects his movement. He can like see wherever he's been. They also buffed Chakra Magic. They buffed Blinding Light. They buffed all of the things that are really good for Coddle, and now he is a crazy good mid. I am a Coddle mid hater, and even I have to kneel before this fucking old geezer on his horse. Win rate above 52% now. It's almost a 4% swing. He is a very, very strong mid laner, and in high MMR pubs, he's ruining everything. Keds, who they did some small reworks on. The big thing is that they changed Shadow Side to allow you to bash on it, which I didn't know you couldn't even do that before, which is kind of silly. All of the reworks just don't matter. Like, he has the same win rate. It changed by like 0.1%. It's nothing. Keds players will have to slowly relearn the hero a little bit, which is normal for reworks on heroes like these. 7.41A was also quite nice to him, which is the reason why he's here. He did drop significantly in win rate by like 1.5% until 7.41A, and then the Kez Masters are right back to doing they thang. So he's ultimately the same. It just took a little bit. He had a training arc. There you go. He had a Chunin exam to attend, but now he's come back. Soon he will work his way towards Jonin, which I think was the next rank in Naruto. Kunkka got worse. Admiral's Rum got reworked in kind of a wonky way, and for a while I thought that being able to apply it for like, 10 seconds at a time with Ghost Ship would be really good for the hero. But no. A lot of his talents got reworked to be like not quite as conducive towards his natural playstyle, I guess. And then you can no longer apply it by multiple sources either. So there were ways to apply it before that even had a cooldown system. But no more. Kunkka has been relegated. He is no longer good. Largo, get fucked. Get fucked, you stupid frog. Largo, they did a lot of different changes to him. They actually buffed Catchy Lick in the fact that it can pull runes, which is more of a rework than a buff. But they decreased the health regen on it. They took away the damage off of his Aghanim Scepter, which is the biggest deal. It's now an innate part of his kit with Bullbelly Blitz, which is the aggro one that gives Spell Amp and magic damage on attacks. It's now an innate part of it, but it is so much worse. It is... man. Just overall lowering the damage that it does is a huge deal. They also decreased the numbers on the speed song, so he's not as fast and he doesn't get as much slow resistance. He can't run around at max movement speed all the time now in the late game. It's good. It's good. Talent nerfs. Largo needed to get tamped down. I was, again, really hesitant about Valve adding him to Captain's Mode so early. He didn't ruin quite as many pub games, or quite as many pro games as I was worried he would, but he was a motherfucking problem. He is the biggest loser of the patch. His win rate went from 53% to 57%. Almost a 6% swing. I haven't looked at every single number, but I'm pretty sure that that is going to be the biggest number decrease of the entire patch. Largo sucks now, and this is a good thing. I do think we're going to slowly see him come back as a more dedicated position 5 hero than a position 3 who like rushes Aghanim Scepter. But overall, don't play Largo. He's very bad. Legion Commander, ton of reworks. They completely reworked her innate. They changed it so that she can use press the attack during duel. And she somehow wound up being the same. She's still good. She has a 52-point-something% win rate. She's solidly playable as an offlaner. I've actually seen her played as a mid in a couple of my pubs on my team. which I'm not happy about. I've yet to see the level 25 dual refreshes itself thing. They tamped her down a little bit in 7.41A as well, which doesn't help. But overall, she still has a place in the meta. Her win rate since the end of 7.40 has gone down by 0.24%, which is not enough to say that she's bad. Leshrac. Ooh, he's kind of a weird one. This is a hero who, like, basically got 0 patch notes, but the invention of Krell's Crozier made him better. He's approaching 50%. He's creeping up slowly, and I think people are going to get better at itemizing him over time, and I think he's going to wind up being a potent mid laner. Yeah, Leshrac is cycled in. He's back. He wasn't gone for long. He was pretty good in 7.39. Then he was bad for a while, and now he's back already. It's crazy how it works like that for Leshrac, and Juggernaut will be shit for another 2.5 years, but hey, whatever makes off laners happy. Lich. You know, Lich's win rate went down, but, like, I feel like he's still awesome. I've played him a couple times because I needed to get roll queue games, and I was like, I want to hear those sacrifice voice lines again, and sure enough... Oh, baby, they hit different. After not having them for like 4 years, and you hear like, for the greater good, mine. Oh, it's the best. And that's not even the number one. Numero uno, as we all know, is Lich, gonna have your mana. And that's back in the game as well. It's good. I think the way that they reintegrated Sacrifice into the game is very conservative and very healthy. Giving it that 2-minute cooldown at the very start means that you can't use it to kill the mid-range creep right when it spawns, which was the sort of meta for Lich in previous times where he had sacrifices. You would do that to set your mid laner up for success. Because in theory, if there's no denies, that means your mid laner is level 2 and they're not. And if you really wanted to be a bitch, you would come back and do it for like the 4th wave as well. You would like waddle over to the mid lane and sacrifice it again. Much to the chagrin of your carry, but to the delight of your position too. Can't do that anymore. It has an insanely long cooldown, but the mana restoration is really good. And then that combined with Sinister Gaze give you kind of a... You know, you don't have Death Charge anymore, so you have normal mana regeneration now again as Lich, which is good. But it allows you to sustain yourself in a very interesting way. Because if you're spamming Sinister Gaze on the position 4 and you're using Sacrifice, you actually maintain a very healthy mana pool over time. You pop a couple mangoes, swallow some fruit, you're good. You get to spam your Q, and that's what makes Lich feel powerful. And Sacrifice helps him spam his Q, therefore he's more powerful. I say all that, his win rate went down. He was almost at 53%, now he's at 52%. But like, I think his place in the meta is pretty much the same as it was before. He's still a very good, very stable first pick position 5 hero. Position 4 Lich is probably still bad. Lifestealer is an interesting case. When the patch first dropped, he got so many reworks, and he got a shitload of attack speed early on in the game because they made Ghoul Frenzy his innate, that a lot of people thought he'd be broken. And you can max Feast as well, and it's almost as if you have maxed out Ghoul Frenzy and Feast very early on. However, Valve put the fucking kibosh on him in 7.41A. His win rate spiked like crazy. It went, like, I remember checking D2PT, and I remember being like, oh, you know, I bet Tide's really good. Oh, I bet Weaver's really good. And then sure enough, Lifestealer is like sitting at the top of the pile at like 55%, which is ridiculous. Very chudly of him. But Valve has excised the chudness of Lifestealer, and now he's just a good hero. He is still solid. His win rate went up. He's hovering a little bit below 52% right now, which is very good. So in a weird way, he's already gone on a bit of a roller coaster over the past week. He went from like 50% to 55 to now 52, which is much healthier for the game. I have some reservations about Lifestealer being like a top tier carry of the patch. And if I were making this list a couple days ago, he'd probably be up here in Gigabuffed. But for now, he's just going to be cycled in. Wraith King is probably going to be in Gigabuffed though. That hero's broken, but it's going to be a long, long while before we get to him. Lina. Getting rid of Combustion really hurt her versatility. There's a couple of matchups now that you're afraid to pick this hero. She already wasn't great. She had a 48% win rate, and it's still a 48% win rate, so she goes and it's the same. Apparently she's ass in ability draft now, because other heroes don't have the slow burn innate that is now completely necessary. Yeah. They also got rid of her Aghanim shard, where you got the shield whenever you cast your ulti, and I think that that's sort of an overlooked part of why Lina was a good pick in certain situations. So yeah, removing that, and then also just like toning down all of her spells and hoping slow burn would balance it out, it does not satisfy. So it's the same for Lina. Now that you have slow burn, apparently, in the analysis video I did, I asked why it was 64%, because that's such a weird number. 64% of the damage she deals with her spells is then dealt as damage over time. And I was like, why? Does anyone know? Apparently, Lena Inverse, and I cannot confirm this because I don't watch anime, Lena Inverse from Slayers, which is the character from the anime Slayers that Lena was based on, there was a running gag where like she'd slayed 64 monsters and burned down 64 towns, and like that number just got brought up a lot. So I guess that's why it is. Valor some old gen anime weeaboos, I suppose, dressing up like toilet paper Frieza as they go to the convention. Lion, man, I complained so much about the fistings, and now the fistings are canon, and I don't like it. They did buff him. They buffed him by lowering the cooldown of Finger of Death, and then they also gave him the fisting by default, but they also decreased the permanent scaling impacts. All of it equaled out to be a small decrease in win rate. He's now ever so slightly below 50%. I think a lot of that drop, though, like, the cooldown decreasing on Finger of Death is a way bigger deal than the damage per kill being lowered from 40 to 30. The problem right now is, like, I shouldn't say shitty, uninformed Lion players are probably popping ulti and then, like, A-clicking the enemy to right-click them and then walking towards the enemy team and dying. I think, like, that's probably happened a triple-digit number of times since 7.41 dropped. Which is very funny. Bad things happening to Lion players will always be one of my favorite things in Dota. And if I can thank that patch for one thing, it's made it more common for that to be the case. So thank you, Valve, I guess. It's the same for his place in the meta, though. You're going to see him picked as a role queue option a lot. Lone Druid. Guys, I'm getting fucking nervous. They didn't do anything to him, and his win rate spiked. He's back. He's back. People have figured out that you can just be Brawlic as shit and proc the Entangling Claws over and over again, and it's a pain in the ass even before Aghanim Scepter. Because you're faster, and you pick up a Diffusal Blade, and now you're effectively perma-stunning heroes. I talked about it in one of the previous videos, where I had to land against a Lone Druid Clockwork who were dual queuing, and I got fucking mogged, dude. I got manhandled. It was insanity. I didn't like it. It was like playing against the 72 Dolphins. Cycled in. Lone Druid is going to be a massive problem, just as I forewarned. And the fact that he had, like, the only thing that changed was his own personal attacks got faster, but not his attack speed. The projectile got faster. That's the only thing that changed, and he spiked 1.51%. His brokenness is being found over time. It is not being granted to him. It is being earned by the LD players, and that's horrifying. LD is cycled into the meta. Luna, thought she was good last patch. A little bit underrated, in fact. People have figured it out. She got buffed by a small amount. What they did is they took Moonstorm, which was the damage reduction during lunar orbit, and they gave most of it to her innately, and then you can get the rest of it by buying her shard. The cool thing is her shard now also increases her movement speed, which is quite relevant for her because she has a lot of it. So getting 20% bonus movement speed, it doesn't make her hasted, but it matters a lot. They did also give her a talent for it. I can't remember immediately what it is. But yeah, being able to give her... This is a case of being forced to pick the good facet. It had the lower win rate, but I promise it was better. And now Valve has vindicated me. She's good. You can pick Luna if you want, but I wouldn't call her a major meta threat. Lycan got dumpstered. Oh my god. A fall from grace for this guy. He had a 3% drop. He went from 51.34 to 48.36. 7.41A did not touch him. They didn't do a whole lot to him. What they did is they took away his facets, which were extremely strong, and give him a very small element of Alpha Wolves in the form of his Aghanim Shard. The biggest thing was replacing his old Aghanim Shard. That was a very good and versatile tool that would oftentimes shift lanes in your favor and also function as a farming item. Getting rid of that has hurt Lycan immensely. It took one of the things that only Lycan could do, which is randomly manipulate creep waves passively with no input from his own and benefiting from doing so, and took it away. So Lycan has effectively been ceremonially removed from the game. Do not pick him. He is bad. Magnus, so he dropped slightly, and I couldn't 100% say why. Valve kind of struggled with deciding what facet to pick for him. So they gave him the Shockwave returning thing as a level 25 talent, but that's too late to matter at all. And then they also changed Empower, so it's like always affected by him, and he can't use it on himself. So in a weird way, they made him like a little baby proof. They baby-proofed Magnus. But unfortunately, the babies are bad. He already had a 49% win rate, which wasn't great. It's now dropped down by about 0.5%. Ultimately, like, it's the same, but like I kind of want to put him in relegated, honestly. You would still pick him before because of the facet diversity, but like now they've kind of gotten rid of a lot of that, and then he's just not as fun to play anymore because you can't do the bullshit shockwave stuff. So yeah, relegated down. Marcy's kind of weird. When I read all of Marcy's changes, especially the bodyguard rework, I thought for sure that she was going to be broken as a support, but it turns out she's not. They did slightly rework her innate, which is the courier delivery thing, to be slightly easier to use. But even so, She's now approaching a 49% win rate, which is bad. She didn't have an above 50 before, but it was very close. It might as well have been 50% before. It's another one of those heroes where, like, if the Marcy players have a good day, that win rate would be above 50%. But now she's solidly in the 49% range, which is bad. Every day for the Marcy players is bad, and you have my condolences. I really thought that she would be good. It might be a meta adaptation thing. Over time, she might do better. And if you look at her win rate on a day-to-day basis, she's actually all over the place. Like, it's kind of weird. Some days she has above 50%, some days she doesn't. So maybe Marcy was reworked in a way that only 4 dudes are playing her, and then those 4 dudes determine how good she is. But until meta adaptations happen or letter patches where she gets slight number buffs, she isn't relegated for now. She's not good. Mars. Kneecapped, brother. The extra HP regen going from 70% to 40 on his innate was a massive problem. They made Bulwark a little bit better, and they made his Aghanim Scepter something that matters, but the removal of facets affects him quite a bit. Yeah, he's bad. He's bad. He already was bad, but now he's like, oof, unplayable bad. Like 44%. And in fact, his win rate was already so low in the first place at 47% that these nerfs on top of it make me want to put him in ceremonially removed, and I will. This hero is slowly becoming very similar to Pangolier in the sense that he's like a pro player hero. You see him picked up in tournaments, but like the pub scene, he's not very good. You need a little bit more coordination with Mars than you do a lot of other offlaners, and you need your teammates to like trust you, which doesn't always happen. Magnus, you can at least force your teammates to trust you by like being the equivalent of like, you know, when a cat kills a bird and puts it on your front doorstep and is like, aren't you proud of me? You can do that with Magnus. You can just fucking grab a Lich and like drag him in front of your team, like, here, kill. But Mars, your team needs to be on board with you. So in a weird way, he's like worse than Magnus in some capacities in the context of pub play. He's always going to be relevant in pro scene. His ulti is just too fucking good. But yeah, ceremonially removed from the game for now. From a pub perspective for Mars. Medusa is apparently good now. Couldn't tell you why. I think it's another case of them taking away the bad facets. Humorously enough, the one that they decided to keep was none of them. They kind of just got rid of all of them. She no longer has the slow on the attack. She no longer has undulation, which is one of my favorite facets that is now removed. She no longer has engorged. She just is Medusa. Somehow getting rid of all of them has resulted in her win rate spiking. They reworked her talents in a way that I also thought was a nerf. But in a way, it's kind of a buff because her later talents you're probably going to get to them anyway because you're a Medusa. So her split shot damage reduction talent is at level 20 now. But it went from 8% to 12%. So you're basically able to do 100% damage with split shot, which is a huge deal for her. And I think that's why she went up. She currently has a win rate of 51.23%, which is also not necessarily healthy. I love me some Medusa, but you don't want to see her be good necessarily. So Medusa is cycled into the meta. She's going to be a thing now. Hopefully not super common, but hey. Meepo. Meepo got giga buffed. Meepo's win rate is like above 54%. The new Geomancy innate is very strange. It just sort of gives him random ass passive bonuses. The big thing is the divided we stand rework. So all of his Meepos get all of his items now, but they share cooldowns, and then the stat split is 100% even now. So I think they all get all of the stats. That is a very suspicious thing to do. Meepo is extremely strong now. One of the things I talked about in the patch note analysis is like if you go diff blade on Meepo, it no longer needs to be Meepo Prime using it. Any of the Meepos can now use it. So you can poof, and then if you have Mega Meepo, you can throw them at them, and then that Meepo can be the one who uses Diffusal to slow them down. And that is very, very good. From what I understand, he now also is like, Probably the most efficient mana burner in the game because of what they did to the Anti-Mage inert, or Anti-Mage innate nerfing, so it doesn't apply as well to Mantas. Meepo, I'm pretty sure the diffusals 100% apply, so that is kind of crazy that he is better at burning mana than PL now, of all heroes. So Meepo got Giga buffed. It took a little bit for them to figure it out. His win rate dropped, but now it's been steadily climbing, and it might go even higher. He's currently sitting at above a 54% win rate, and his pick rate is going up too, which is scary. Yeah, Meepo. Meepo is Giga buffed right now. I don't know if it'll quite be good enough for him to be super popular in the pro scene, but he's going to be popular in the pubs, especially at higher MMR levels. Mirana got nerfed. I'm really excited for what happens with Mirana. I think her new innate with the Celestial Arrows is really interesting, and I think that there's a lot of cool things you could do, but removing her innates matters a lot for her, and they didn't quite compensate her for it appropriately. So it's going to take a little while for her to creep back up. She is still at above a 50% win rate, notably, but it did drop by about a percentage. So, in a weird way, I think she's actually the same. I changed my mind. Because she was already at above 50% and now is at still above 50%, she's pretty much the same. Monkey King, who had a pretty shitty win rate last patch, thank my stars and garters, is good. Oh. Well, he's not great. He's definitely better than he was. He's got like a 47% win rate right now, which is like pretty trash. But it was 44%. He was statistically one of the worst heroes in the game at lower MMR matchmaking. Now he's a lot better. They did a lot of different things to him. They gave him Changing of the Guard as his like default thing of all the facets to pick from. They changed a lot about Tree Dance. They gave it a cast point, which is a little bit rough. A lot of the changes were dedicated to nerfing position 4 Monkey King, but I don't think Pos 4 Monkey King is popular enough to be the thing dropping his win rate, because Lord knows those guys are not winning. Still, his win rate went up by over 2.5%, and I think even though he's below 50%, Valve is clearly trying to make Monkey King a viable pick. So we're going to put him in Cycled In, but with a small asterisk, because he's still technically bad. But good lord, he's nowhere near as shit as he was. I miss when he was bad. Morphling. He got one of the biggest buffs of all, which is that he now becomes larger as he morphs into strength. They should have just made him fatter, I think. But alas, even his head grows. They should be able to morph into Int, and then only his head gets bigger. That should be how they do it. They changed a little bit about his innate. They basically combined both of his facets together, even though he had one of the shittiest facets in the game. They also nerfed the cast range on Waveform a little bit, so his escape is a little bit worse. Ultimately, he's still not very good. I talked about in the carry tier list that immediately got invalidated 8 hours later that he needs a lot of help, and he still needs help. His win rate is not good. But relative to what he was in the patch 7.40, he's the same. So, it's the same. Still unpickable garbage. In the hero tier list, he would be in the bottom tier, but for this specific tier list, for winners and losers, he's the same. Definitely should have been buffed. Muerta. Some small buffs. They reworked her innate so that her spell lamp is like, it works almost like galvanized on Storm Spirit, where you gain based on proximity or deaths in proximity to her, and then when you die, you lose some of them. It's weird. I don't really know what to say. They also changed Pierce the Veil so that Satanic works with it, which is good. Very, very tiny win rate buffs, 0.3%. It's the same. I still don't think she's great. As a position 1, she got better. She scales better because the bonus damage is now a percentage of her base damage. But it takes a long time for you to catch up with the 130 you used to get at level 18. So she's the same overall. Naga Siren is buffed bigly. I almost want to put her in Giga buffed, even though the numbers don't support it. So what they did is they gave her basically just an evasion for being her. She just gets like 8, I think it's 8% evasion, just for fun. And now the evasion scales in an interesting way where it actually gets really big. So, yeah, the big thing is, well, I wanted to say she's one of the heroes where removing the dogshit facet raised her win rate because now people aren't picking it, but the truth is that no one was picking her dogshit facet anyway. When I was doing some of the research for the carry tier list, I went on D2PT, and Naga Siren had like a couple hundred games. She definitely wasn't popular. Literally 0 of them were Deluge. It was always Riptide. Not a single game of hard carry Naga with a Deluge. You know, they buffed her talents a little bit, and that alone was enough. Not a whole lot of changes, but it was enough. Just giving her a tiny bit of built-in evasion and then removing her dogshit facet. for, I guess, all the people who were picking that, which was no one anyway. I don't know. Numbers are weird. Nature's Prophet. They're trying to slowly rework him to be less about teleport and more about the trees. He is dog shit unplayable. He might have the lowest win rate of the patch, which is good. This hero got a good 2.5 to 3 years in the spotlight. We're cool with him being shit for a while now. He has a win rate of 44%. And believe it or not, it's up compared to what he was at 7.40. This hero was garbage, and he's going to be garbage. And Valve are slowly going to turn him into a zoo hero, and I'm honestly cooler with that than with the teleport insane right-click damage. So, yeah, relegated for now. Mostly it's the same, though. Well, I can't put him in relegated if his win rate went up. We're going to put him in is the same. It went up, but he went from Mega Trash to slightly less Mega Trash. Still Mega Trash, though. Good. Necrophos. He benefited mostly from the items. Consecrated Wraps is really good on him. Krellis Crozier is also really good on him. Basically, he gets an additional cast of his W. One of the cool things, and this is something I saw Necrophos doing in a game I was playing. I wasn't him. But he was using his W in order to bait the Nullifier, and then when the Nullifier ran out, he would immediately pop Krellis Crozier. Or maybe it was the other way around. I think it was the other way around. But yeah, Necrophos getting access to an additional version of his W is extremely strong, and Consecrated Wraps are also very good, and those two items both give him movement speed. So, like, Necro can be quick now. You don't have to go BOTs. You can if you want. But yeah, Necrophos is quite good right now, primarily as a mid laner. And he was already solid, but now he has an above 52% win rate. He's going to be an important hero in the meta, and maybe we'll see him picked up in pro games. Necro is not a very popular hero in tournaments, but I think there's a chance. Night Stalker. A lot of changes to him. He got the new ability Midnight Feast. It was basically his old shard, but he has access to it all the time now. That's very good. And now Void is an AoE ability with his shard, which I think is the bigger thing. So now he can farm so much better. You pick up shard and you have Midnight Feast. Midnight Feast allows you to sustain casting Void via the shard. Of all the heroes to, like, you know, it's a big thing for Valve to be like, here, you get wave clear now. Night Stalker was not one of the beneficiaries of that system for a very long time, and now he is. And as a result, his win rate has gone up significantly. He's now at 53%, which is great for him. I love Night Stalker. He's very fun to play. He's probably like a top 5 offlaner. He's probably number 5 on the list. Yeah, he's cycled into the meta. Enjoy. Pick Night Stalker. He's fun. Nyx Assassin, he's the same. His win rate is like pretty much the exact same as it was before. They removed his innate that allows you to see Ricky's, which is a bit of a shame. But they also turned him into a bit of an anti-mage, because now all of his abilities burn mana, which is very good. Turns out just being able to passively burn the shit out of people's mana is a strong thing to do. So, Nyx Assassin, yeah, he's fine. They also give him a shard for free that applies Break on Vendetta, which is good. Gives him a little bit more of an identity as a counter to certain heroes. The big thing, though, is with the mana burn is it allows him to be more impact in lane. Because now you can, in theory, just like cast Mind Flare on anyone over and over again. Like, you can use Impale and then Mind Flare someone, and that's burning like a quarter of their mana just for funsies. So yeah, big buffs to Nyx Assassin in the lane. Of course, that's going to make him better. Still, losing out on the innates hurt. Losing out on his facets hurt. His win rate went down, but like barely. It's in the if Nyx players have a good day, it'll be back up to what it was. And his win rate is 52%. So he's good. It's a good hero. Shout out to Elwee. Ogre Magi, who I'm starting to see more and more played as a core. He did get buffed. What they did is they took away Learning Curve, which was more for support Ogre, and they gave him the thing where his multicast odds scale off of his strength. And I think they made the numbers slightly better to compensate as well. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but now once you get to 100% dual cast rate, instead of a percentage, it just says yes on his tooltip, which is very funny. Yeah, I think he's a lot better as a core now. As a support, he's probably slightly worse, but as a position 4, he's probably the same. Regardless, his win rate has gone up by a little bit, and he's now sitting at 51.81, just under 52%. So he's quite good and climbing. I think people are figuring something out with him. I think they're figuring out that going Midas and using it is fun and good for you and me. Healthy for the meta? Who knows? We'll figure that out later. Omni Knight. Shit. He went from a pretty high win rate, one of the highest win rate offlaners of the previous patch in high-ranked MMR matchmaking, and now he's like dog shit unplayable. He had a 4% win rate drop. He's now at 48%. They did a lot of different things to him. They made it so that Purification, you could use it on allies when they're BKB'd. They toned down some stats. Hammer of Purity now also goes through BKB, but they made the numbers lower in a weird way, and they're really shitty at level 1. And that's like a big deal for him. Like, the cooldown actually significantly decreased, but it's only 30% of your base damage now, instead of like half. And then the bonus damage also got decreased as well. So, a bunch of weird reworks. Guardian Angel works differently, again, because why the fuck not? Omni Knight, maybe people have to figure out how to play with him, but in the meantime, dog shit. Really, really bad hero, don't pick him. Oracle. His innate got buffed like crazy, and then they give him a very funny Aghanim Scepter. It's the Tarot deck, which people got on me because I mispronounced it in the previous video. My bad. It's been a while since I've gone to a farmer's market and talked with a girl who has a shitload of empty jars on shelves in her bedroom. It's the same. It's the same for Oracle. He's the same shit. Same shit, different butt. OD. It went down, which is great. But now that means they're going to buff him. They changed Essence Select of his innate, which means you can no longer force the scaling on it based off of his Q, and it's nowhere near as good of an engine as it used to be, and the proc chance in the lane is much lower. That's the thing that like actually hurts him. Or, not the proc chance, but the amount that you get off of it, which is tough. They also made it scale differently based on his Q, which is also weird. Like, you get less mana back for using his Q than you would if you procced it off of his W or ulti, which I don't understand why they did that. I was really pissed about Objurgation, which I still don't know what that word means. I'm still honestly kind of convinced it's not a word. But it has worked out in a way that I haven't seen him, and I'm happy with that. They also slightly nerfed Sanity's Eclipse. The cooldown is better at level 1 and 2, slightly, but the radius went down at later levels, which is good. It's good because it's bad for OD, for reference. It is bad. OD is bad. Rejoice. Hooray! He's now at a 49% win rate. Pangolier, a bit of a weird one. They wound up nerfing the shit out of him in 7.41A for no reason. He barely got up to 50%. I do think he overall is like giga buffed though. Even after the nerfs in 7.41A, because he barely had a above 50% win rate for like 2 days, and Valve was like, this will not stand. And so they decided to bring it down. But even so, he went from absolutely unplayable 46% win rate up to 50%, which is good. And this is another hero where 50% for Pango is like actually 53%. You know what I mean? A couple of heroes like that. Batriders like that as well. Yeah, giga buffed. Good for Pango players. I like when that hero is good. I think he's like, every meta has to have healthy top tier, let me rephrase. Every patch in Dota is going to have heroes that are very, very good. It is the nature of the game. There are 126 heroes. Not all of them can have a 50% win rate. Not all of them should have a 50% win rate. There should be variance between the patches. What Valve can do is they can try to make it so that the heroes that are good are healthy for the game. Heroes that are fun to play, create interesting game states. Basically, there are healthy top tiers. You know? There are unhealthy top tiers too. Naga Siren should not be like a first phase pickable god tier carry. That produces a bad version of Dota. Meepo should probably not be above a 54% win rate. That's a bad hero to have as the best hero of your patch. But Pangolier, if you're going to have broken heroes, he's like a fairly healthy one to have. Like, he's fun to play against. He's fun to play as. He's interesting. He has a good mid lane matchup spread, but not an unbeatable one. He's very interactive. There's a clear way to counter him because all of his damage is physical. He's a good hero to have as a top tier pick. He's healthy for the game. He should be good. Anyway, that's my rant. Phantom Assassin. Sorry, girl. You needed help. You needed help. You looked up at Valve and you said, please help me. I'm shit. And Valve said, no. Yeah, PA is bad. PA is really bad. 46% win rate. It went down even further than it already was. She was already in the shit tier. Now she's even deeper in the mud. PA is bad. And she's not going to be good until the next number patch. That's how bad she is. The letters will not save her. Only the numbers can. And it's going to be a minute until we have another one of those, because 7.41 was a pretty significant patch. Shouldn't be TI patch. We're going to get another one before TI. But, you know, next 3 to 4 months, don't expect anything. Phantom Lancer. Somehow he's the same. I don't know how. Like, he already was pretty good. Illusory Armaments is a very, very broken innate. Maybe Valve expected him to get power crept, but sure enough, he didn't. Yeah. He did get tucked down a little bit in 7.41a, but overall, his design right now is the thing that's keeping him alive. Illusory Armaments is extremely good. So yeah. Somehow he's the exact same. Win rate is still good, by the way. 52, in the mid 52s. He actually went up overall, even after the 7.41a nerfs, up by about 0.5%. So he's not, broken, but he's still very good. He's another hero who's a very unhealthy top tier. You don't want PL to be the default, blind pickable carry in your batch. Phoenix. So they got rid of Blinding Sun, which was the one that stacked, not evasion, mischance on the hero itself. So even if they were attacking someone else, there was still a chance that they missed. Instead, they made it Dying Light. Now, I do think that was good for the hero and good for the game. And it also was good for his win rate. He has gone up, which is interesting. Yeah. I couldn't exactly tell you why. I think just Dying Light is good because it now works during Supernova, and apparently it didn't before, which I didn't even realize. I just figured it did because I was taking infinite damage from the Supernova. I figured half of it had to be coming from Dying Light, but no. But it will freeze whatever health you had whenever you cast it, and then that will be the percentage of damage you deal via Dying Light, and it's locked that way. And that can be a lot of damage. Phoenix is a strength hero, in case you forgot. He may be ranged, but he is a strength hero. So yeah, this is very good, and his win rate has reflected in that, because now he has an almost 53% win rate, which is crazy high. Very good for Phoenix. Primal Beast. He's another hero that they made big. What is it? Is it your strength? I think it's your max health makes you bigger, which is a great buff to have. And he's good. He's above 50% win rate. Another kind of scary tournament-ready sort of hero with a very high-impact ultimate and mid-lane potential. Big ups for Malrine and any other mid-laners at the high level who like playing Primal Beast. He's quite good right now. His win rate is 50.5, which is good. In terms of changes, they actually nerfed Pulverize slightly. The AoE radius isn't quite as big. It was humongous in the previous patch. And I don't... Did they mess with him in the A patch? I don't think so. But yeah, just giving him slow resistance and AoE bonuses and all that other stuff to the point where eventually his ultimate has a bigger radius than it had before is very good. Yeah, his new innate is quite strong. During the innate tier list for the previous patch, I was like, why does he have this? He shouldn't... It's weird for Primal Beast to be dealing additional damage to buildings of all the things that he could potentially be doing. And I called it a lost opportunity. And a couple of comments were like, no, it's essential to his character. If he didn't have it, he wouldn't be a mid laner. It's a really important part of shoring up a weakness that he has where he can't hit buildings. Valve got rid of it, and the hero is better. So I like to think that my accusations of it being a lost opportunity fell on hearing ears, even if this wasn't reflected in the comments. Cycled in. Primal Beast is a threat this patch. I think he's more of a mid than an offlaner, but time will tell. Puck. They changed Puckish and its scaling in a way that doesn't help him in the early game. They also reduced the multiplier for whenever he dodges spells, and then they made Illusory Orb better, and yet somehow it dropped. I couldn't exactly tell you why. I think Puck also got tapped in the A patch. But yeah, Puck went from a reasonable 48.7% win rate down to 46.9%. Any hero that dips below 47 is unplayable, even by specialists, in my opinion. So Puck is down here and relegated, sort of out of the meta, despite nothing really bad happening to Puck. I theory crafted a little bit on Illusory Orb damage cap, no longer instantly killing range creeps at level 4. I don't think that was ever really a concern, but for some reason I couldn't exactly tell you Puck's win rate dropped significantly. Pudge. Man. The bonus health that you get off of Flesh Heap really... So they nerfed it. So it used to go up to 2.0, now it's always at 1.6. That really hurt his snowball potential. And so those games as Pudge where you get a shitload of Flesh Heaps, you're no longer as strong as you were. And then 7.41a, he wasn't touched. That change alone really hurt him. He's relegated out. Obviously, they're still going to pick Pudge, but he's now at a 49% win rate, whereas in the previous patch, he was quite good at 51.5. So Pudge is relegated down. Pugna's went up. Oblivion Savant is a very funny innate. It encourages him to do the things he was already doing. His win rate went up. It's above 50%. I think it's... What Valve is trying to do is they're trying to offload some of Pugna's strength from the gas station aspect of Pugna over to the building damage part. Giving him spell amplification off of Oblivion Savant, based on destroying enemy towers, is quite good. And then he was one of the heroes where I incorrectly identified the reasoning behind changing the damage source. So now, whenever you use a spell near Nether Ward and you have a Blade Mail active, the damage will be reflected not to the Nether Ward and go off into Oblivion. It will instead go to Pugna. There's a couple of other changes like that, such as with Techies Mines. It's a small change that doesn't really matter. But Pugna is above 50% win rate because they just handed Pugna a shitload of spell amp. And who would have thought? Who could have seen this coming? Yeah, Pugna's good. Pugna's good. The nerfs after the last TI, where they kind of took away his gas station potential, those are still there. But yeah, Spell Amp is strong on a hero who's almost entirely spells. Surprise! Queen of Pain is the same. They did some weird things because Queen of Pain, like the interplay between her innate and her facets was quite important. They sort of gave her Masochist, which was the worst one towards the end of the patch. When facets were first added, it was broken. But they gave her the one where some of the damage that she deals with Scream of Pain is reflected back to her, but it deals a lot more damage as sort of compensation. It's also a little bit weirder to get Spell Lifesteal on her now, because you can't go Dagon. Ultimately, she's the same, though. One of the smallest changes over the patch. Over the course of the main patch and A dropping, her win rate has gone up by 0.13%. It's the exact same. It's the samest of all the heroes we've looked at. And maybe of all the ones that we will look at, even going forward. Razor, get fucked. Razor's bad, dude. Razor got shit on. And it's crazy because when you look at it, you're like, oh, they buffed Static Link. But the truth is, getting rid of Thunderhead is a huge deal. Like, that matters a lot because it was sort of a counter to a lot of the heroes that counter Razor. Like PL. It was a lot easier to deal with PL because whenever Storm Surge was procced, which it was getting procced all the time because you're getting hit by 8 different PLs multiple times a second, you're now dealing with all of the PL illusions. But now that they've taken that away, and they took away the 10% spell lifesteal talent at level 10, it's so much easier to deal with him. Like, his weaknesses are so much more defined. That, and they also dealt with his items a little bit, like Greaves and Crimson Guard. So, yeah, Razor is, like, still playable, but you actually have to play Razor now. You can't just turn your fucking brain off. In a weird way, because his win rate is like at 50% exactly, I do think he goes unrelegated. But he had one of the biggest downturns because he was such a broken hero in the previous patch. Razor is now balanced again. Praise the Lord. Richard is up. Huge. Yeah, Riki's good. So what they did with him is they changed the backstab agi multiplier to scale off of his levels, which matters a lot early on. And then they made the miss rate for Smokescreen better. And they also made the slow for Blink Strike better. So, like, his CC ability is much better now. Like, he's a lot better able to just man up on people at early levels. And then the Blink Strike slow matters a lot for his lane. So his lane is just a lot better. Because the Blink Strike synergizes with the backstab scaling changes. So yeah. Riki's good. Riki's good. I'm not entirely sure where you play him. I think he's like a mid. I don't quite think he's a carry yet. But time will go on. And we will learn. Ringmaster is unfortunately the same. I love Unicycle. It is bad. I almost said a naughty word. It is bad. Giving him the Mirror, which creates the illusion, the Tonic, which is the strength buff, and the Whoopee Cushion, which is the movement, that's all great. And those were what he originally had in the default set. But keeping the Unicycle over, because it is funny, is like not doing him any favors. Because now the odds of him getting one of those really good items, like the Strongman Tonic or the Whoopee Cushion, those are now no longer a thing that, well, you can still get them, but the odds of doing so went from 33% to 25%, which is not great. There's not a whole lot else to say. They reworked Impalement Arts to be different, and I don't think that is the reason his win rate has gone up slightly. But it has, by less than 8%, and he's still, like, losing. It's still in the 48% range. So Ringmaster did get buffed, but ultimately he's the same. Sand King. Oh wait, no, Rubik. Rubik. He is good. Curiosity's great. Apparently, it's bugged. Rubik has above 50% though, above 50% win rate. So his Curiosity innate was bugged in some way where he wouldn't get them upon leveling up, because he was supposed to get them permanently. And when I was talking about the patch originally, I was talking about how it was weird to me that, like, you can't in your head do the math on how many stacks of Curiosity he's going to get. It's a weird number, and it varies so much. I have had the privilege of watching a replay of a Rubik playing against a Bristleback, though. And that was funny. Yeah, having 80 curiosity stacks is good for Rubik. Who would have thought? It's a very interesting mechanic, and I think they need to tone down the numbers a little bit. But Rubik is above a 50% win rate, and if you're a Rubik specialist, the hero probably feels crazy. So yeah, cycled in for Rubik. He's a good pick. Also, Fade Bolt reduces spell damage, which is funny. Get fucked, casters. Sand King, who we were originally going to talk about, is the same. His win rate did go down. What they did is they changed the scaling on Caustic Finale, so it's not quite as good in like the mid game. In the lane, it's actually a little bit better because the way that they changed it is you used to have 20 as the flat value before, and now it's 17 plus 3. So when you're level 5, it's like 32, which is a lot better. But it's worse in the mid game. So like when you would have gotten level 6, it would have gone up to 40. Now it's only at 35, and it scales slower, and the duration got decreased, and the max health damage scales in a weird way too. So they just changed Caustic Finale, and that alone had a small negative impact on Sand King's win rate and his performance. So now he's sitting at 50-50, like 50.450, which is still winning, but ultimately it's no real change. Still a menace in team fights though. Sheesh. Shadow Demon is bad. I'm sorry to the Shadow Demon players. He already had kind of a crappy win rate at 49%, and he's a hero that you sort of need him to be above 50 for you to give a shit about him. And then it dropped by like 3%. I don't know why. Maybe it's the talent changes. I know you can now use Disruption on the Spirit Bear, which is cool. I don't think that's enough for him to drop by 3%, though. And they actually buffed Disseminate at the later levels, but they made it worse early on, which is maybe bad for his lane. But Shadow Demon is not a very good hero right now. Sorry. Shadow Fiend, speaking of heroes that are not very good right now. So the Feast of Souls rework was really good for him, and I think it's going to benefit him a little bit in the long run. But the nerfs that they did to him with the souls now going to only 20 is like such a fat problem. And man, we had a brief period of time where you had a way to buff both right click and magic SF by increasing the number of souls and therefore buffing both his right click and Requiem. Now you don't have that anymore. So it's pretty tough. It's very tough. Sorry, Shadow Fiend, you had your time in the spotlight. Now you have a 47% win rate. Earlier, I talked about how a 0.13% on a hero might be the smallest of the patch. Actually, it's Shadow Shaman. Despite the massive cavalcade of changes that they made to him, they gave him Urnaconda, which is hilarious, and then they made Foul Play weird. He's literally the same. His win rate is so similar that there actually isn't even a number percentage change on Dota buff. It went from 52.15 to 52.18. 0.03%. You want to talk about good and bad days? Like, he's so the same somehow. They're still fucking around with his Aghanim shards, which is fine. But yeah, Shadow Shaman, borderline. He probably is the exact samest. I don't think we're gonna get a hero that is so close that it breaks Dota buff's UI. Silencer is great. He's back already after being nerfed like crazy in the previous TI. I honestly kind of want to put him in Giga buffed. So what they did for him is they changed his innate, so you now have a way of getting 2 int steal whenever someone dies, if they're affected by one of your debuffs. Doesn't have to be silence, which is good. They did slightly nerf the damage on Arcane Curse, but being able to steal more int like that is very good. And then they also buffed Glaives by reducing the mana cost, which means that I think the way you play him now is you use Glaives to harass in lane, is going to be your like default way of doing it. And also the Suffer in Silence thing helps him take less damage from people during his ultimate, which is good, because now we can use it as a panic option, and, you know, mostly Silencer exists in the binary state of alive or dead, but in that tiny little gray area, it's now more likely for him to walk out alive, which is good. He also has ways to buff it with the level 20, or level 10 talent, rather. So yeah, Silencer is a lot better. He is a very good position 5 right now. It's just the power has been offloaded from his spells over to Glaives as a harassment tool. That also steals int, and therefore kind of snowballs itself. So congratulations to the Chuds. Big ups for the Chuds, who pick Silencer and win. Skywrath Mage, they fucking killed him. Why'd you do that? What? They got rid of his 40% lifesteal off of spells. Makes me sad. They buffed Shield of the Scion in order to compensate, and they made it his innate, but like, goddamn, bro. Like, why'd you do him that way? They did him so dirty. Right when I was starting to really enjoy him as like a mid laner option, when I was role queuing and I got mid, I would start picking Skywrath Mage. I played him in Turbo a few times. He felt amazing. He was really fun. And then they took away his 40% spell lifesteal. You know, you could argue that maybe some of the new items are good for him. Krell's Crozier. But I'm not buying Dragon's Breath on him, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, win rate dropped. He went from 51% to 49.5. He was never the problem. He got punished as if he was anyway. It's just not fair. Slardar. Win rate went up by over 1%, which I think means he cycled in. He was fine before. They gave him the facet where he gets slow resistance at the start of sprint, which is good. And they changed his innate scaling to be based on his levels rather than his ultimate, and that's really it. They replaced a couple of his talents with arguable buffs. But yeah, that's it. Slardar cycled in. One of the notable things they did is they made it so that you can now take additional armor reduction on Corrosive Haze, along with a level 20 talent that increases your bonus attack damage from Seaborn Sentinel, which is your innate when you're in water. And so the meme about like Slardar two-shotting you at the 45-minute mark somehow, really just two-shotting your supports, is now more real than it has ever been. So yeah, Slardar is good. 52% win rate, very healthy, solid offlane option. Slark, reading over his patch notes, I was like, he's dead. They killed him. They took the thing that made Saltwater Shiv so broken, and then they removed it because it's harder to stack it over in the lane, and yet somehow his win rate went up. I think it's because they... I don't know, man. Reading this, I think it's a nerf. I'm not a big Slardar player, or Slark player, rather, but, like, they really... I thought that they murdered Saltwater Shiv, but his win rate has gone up by less than 1%, so I'm going to put him in It's the Same, and he was already a threat before. He went from a low 51% win rate to a high 51% win rate, so not a huge change. But yeah, what can you do? Snapfire. They removed boom, buckshot, pussy wagon. They took that out of the game, and they replaced it by basically making her Q the old version of her Q. So you can't snipe people with it in lane, which was better. Instead, you now have the short-range Scatter Blast enforced upon you, which has resulted in a small decrease in her win rate. 0.3%. She's bad. She's bad. She's not going to be in the meta at all, actually, now that I think about it, because that was sort of the one saving grace that she had, is you can attack with Little Shredder in the lane because it's broken, and then you can snipe people with the Q when they run away. And that sort of bread and butter allowed you to put heroes on half HP starting at level 3. Which is great, but now you have to open up with Scattershot and then use Little Shredder, which means you can't take as much of advantage of the armor reduction. It's a small play pattern change that has resulted in a decrease in her win rate and pick rate. She already was bad before, and now she's still bad, but in a weird way, it only went down by a little bit and kind of is the same, but she's really not good at all in the first place, so I'm going to put her down here and relegated for the patch. Don't pick Snap. She's not good. Sniper. I had some questions when they first added Specialist Array to the game, because I was a little confused on how, like, which heroes wanted to go it. It's Sniper. Skipping Maelstrom in favor of Specialist Array and going into an early Dragon's Breath while stacking defensive options in the form of, well, you can't go Hurricane Pike anymore, but you can still go Shard. And that, I think, is a big advantage for him, because, like, a lot of the heroes who would go Hurricane Pike, that's their only real defensive item that they can go outside of BKB. It's like the only repositioning item, I should say. You know, Drow kind of has a similar advantage because she has Gust, but if they're BKB, Gust doesn't do anything, and there's really easy counterplay to it. Meanwhile, for Sniper, he can just like blast himself over a wall when fighting near a tier 2, and now you can't hit him, and he can hit you because he has Shrapnel Provision. So he takes so much advantage of Dragon's Breath because his opportunity cost is so low, and Specialist Array is crazy on him as well. He's a very good hero. Very good hero. He had a 47.67 win rate in the previous patch. As the most recent day of matchmaking data, it's 51.2. Sniper is very, very good. Part of it is also because they removed the Scattershot facet that made Shrapnel... Was it called Scattershot? The same way that... Whatever. They got rid of the support Sniper facet. They say cut that shit out. So you can no longer, like, call in a nuclear bomb on your opponents when you hit level 3, but... that facet had a lower win rate for a reason. So Sniper is, once again, very good, both by the introduction of the new items and taking away his bait facet. We're going to have 2 in a row here because Spectre is fucking nuts. It falls off a little bit at higher MMRs, but right now Spectre is like crazy high win rate, like approaching 57%. The buffs for Shadow Step were not necessary. And I understand that, like, the ability is, like, still wonky. I gave the example of, like, being disarmed or enemy heroes are in ghost form. Whenever you use Shadow Step, just causing the illusion to bug out and, like, go, I don't know, play Connect 4 with itself in its head. But now, because Shadow Step got its numbers buffed to high heaven, the jankiness is sort of accounted for. And the cooldown of Haunt got decreased at early levels. And the duration is better at level 1 versus at level 3. It's ridiculous. And the 7.41a changes, like, didn't affect her. So, like, oh my god. The Spectre is fucking broken, and she already was. So you go the Phylactery into Radiance build now. People have sort of canonized that. I talked about how PL had options. Spectre doesn't really. You kind of have to go Phylactery on her. But yeah, 57% win rate. Fucking broken hero. I don't know what Valve was thinking. Gigabuffed. Spectre is, like, canonically the carry of the patch right now, but this will change. Once B rolls around, they're really going to put the hammer down on her, because the nail that sticks out, that's the one that gets hammered down. You know what I'm saying? Spirit Breaker, really funny Twitch clip generator, but in terms of win rate, it hasn't really done much for him. They got rid of herd mentality, which was one of my favorite innates in the game, along with the Winter Wyvern one, because it's a very team play oriented one. It barely went up, and it's below 52%, so I'm going to put him in Issa Same. He is good, though. He is good. I'm sure you've seen the clips where, like, the way it's scaled before the 7.41a changes were, like, the knockback would be increased by AoE increase, along with the radius for it to knock back other things. So you would get into situations where you charge someone sitting behind a creep wave, and all of the creeps not only knock into the hero, but knock into each other and knock into the hero again. I think that's how it worked. So you would, like, chain stun them off of that. And it did a lot of damage, because each one counts as a bash. So they would take, like, 6 bashes worth of damage and also be stunned for, like, 4.5 seconds. Which is very funny. The planar pocket is not the reason he's better, though. Spirit Breaker, a relatively small increase, but he's way funnier, and therefore you should pick him, even though he's in Issa Same. He's funny. Storm Spirit. No longer getting free galvanized charges whenever you hit levels 6, 12, and 18 is a problem. Giving him his good facet matters a little bit, but he was already going that one anyway 100% of games. So, yeah. Probably a better design overall for Storm Spirit, but taking away the galvanized charges really hurt him. He's been relegated down. He's now in the 47% range, which is tough. But at higher MMRs, I think it gets better. Storm is a very testing hero in the current patch. Sven. One of the weird cases of a hero whose win rate went up, but pick rate went down. The new ability, or the new innate Wrath of God replacing Vanquisher kind of sucks. He benefited quite a bit from having an additional percentage of damage, because he already dealt such an insane amount that, like, 12% more actually meant a lot. But he no longer has it. The Agnum Shard got reworked to no longer provide the passive armor, but it's undispellable now, which is good. And increases the radius, which is another big deal. And it also incorporated he's weird. Like, they took away his innate, but they gave him both facets. So one of the facets became his innate in Wrath of God, getting more damage per strength. But then the other one, which gave you a physical damage barrier upon popping Warcry, they made it a part of his shard. So they gave him both and removed Vanquisher entirely. And then they changed his talents in order to compensate for that. Giving him a shitload of early slow resistance is also good. You get, like, 20% whenever you pop your ulti. And then the level 20 talent, where Stormhammer, you get to cast it more often and in a lower mana cost. That's good as well. So just, like, small quality of life buffs have pushed Sven above the 50% mark, and it's climbing, because people are still kind of figuring out what to do. Maybe not go Dragon's Breath on this guy. But hey, cycled in. Sven is good. You can pick him if you want. He's not my top carry of the patch, but hey. Techies. Woo! Woo! He's got Giga Buff, dude. MAD is nuts. It does a crazy amount of damage. Oh, it's nuts. 7.41a, he got out pretty much unscathed. Reactive Taser, the real big thing is Reactive Taser now being able to cast it on allies, because you can almost play it like a bit like Grimstroke. You throw it on your position 3 before they jump in, and then it disarms and it makes them survive, and then it also deals damage. It's good. It's good. A lot of the other changes aren't a big deal. I thought that it would matter because Blast Off, you can now stun him out of it, and I thought that that would matter. It doesn't. It really fucking doesn't. He pops that shit from the trees. You never see it coming anyway. So yeah. And also the proximity mines redirecting damage to Techies themselves. Pronouns is they, them, because there's 3 dudes. That really doesn't matter. I haven't seen it be a big deal. Yeah, Giga buffed. Techies is really, really strong right now. Congratulations to the Techies players. TA getting her swag jacked by Oracle and allowing him to see whenever Roche respawns, and then she got like Inner Peace, which is funny. Fucking useless. Really bad. She's not good. She's not good at all. I kind of, yeah, she's actually ceremonially removed from the game. She already was struggling a little bit in the previous patch because her damage just wasn't high enough. Nothing that they gave her helps. She does have the facet where when you apply meld and it goes through side blades, it'll apply meld to the things behind her, which is good. But removing a relatively useful innate and replacing it with something that is fucking irrelevant doesn't matter. Inner Peace, the numbers just aren't big enough. You know, the idea is like, oh, if I stand still for long enough, I'll get like a tango. But no, actually not at all. Like, it never hits that point. It's never enough. It's 3 max health regen. It's like a headdress that only applies to yourself and you have to sit still in the lane. And like, that isn't enough. It's just not good. The mana regen is arguably more impactful, but even then it doesn't matter. Turns out giving heroes meme innates is bad for their win rate. But funny for me, so keep it around, I guess. I don't know. Terrorblade, it's hard. His win rate actually went up quite a bit. Increasing the amount of damage that his illusions do and buffing the shit out of Demon Zeal is good. Surprise. However, his win rate is still really bad. He was one of the worst carries in the previous patch. He had a win rate of 44%. Now it's 48%, which is still not good. Technically, he's like cycled in, but I think his position in the meta is the same, where he's like a bad carry that you shouldn't pick. But he has one of the biggest win rate changes of the patch. But it's not because he's good, it's just because he was so unplayable in the previous one. So I'm going to put Terrorblade down in Issa Same, but it's a little bit strange. His is a bit of a weird case. Plus 3.5% win rate change, and he's still bad. That's how ass Terrorblade used to be. And he's still not great. Tidehunter, best offlaner of the patch. They took away the thing where whenever it was the facet where when you hit someone with Anchor Smash and they die, you gain permanent damage block. They kind of gave him Krill Eater, but in a weird roundabout way that is strange. So whenever you level up, you gain 3 max health, 2 attack range, and an additional 1 damage block, right? And it's notable because in the previous form of Krill Eater, there was no way to increase that damage block. I guess you could buy a Vanguard if you wanted. So he gets that fish every level up, and then whenever an enemy hero dies affected by a debuff, or he just kills them, they drop a fish, and you eat the fish. And it's very easy to eat the fish. It's easier than people thought. And then in the 7.41a thing, they even increased the range at which it flies at you, I think. Or maybe they decreased it. Regardless, the fish flies at you. So like it's very easy, and you just kind of have to walk over it in order to eat the fish. And so you get this insane form of weird scaling that like no other hero really has access to. It's like dog tags in Call of Duty. Like that's what you're picking up as Tide. And it's basically free. It's free to do it. They also changed Anchor Smash so that it's a circle on the ground, which is sort of a side grade because now the enemy can see exactly how big it is when you were already able to do it by doing the alt right click thing on the ability. But they made it scale off of your attack range now. So if you get one of the neutrals that gives you more attack range, like the attack speed one that gives plus 100, that now increases the radius of Anchor Smash as well. And I think it benefits from AoE, but I'm not 100% sure. Like AoE bonuses. So yeah. Just the fish. That's the only thing that really matters. Them adding the fish, basically all of the upsides of both passives and turning it into a weird fish minigame, it turns out it's very good for Tide. And his win rate has reflected that. He used to be 49%, which meant that he was like a smash in case of need of roll queue tokens. Now he's at 53.5, and he's Tidehunter. So like every game, you can first pick this hero, and he's fucking broken. Yeah, Tide is the best offlaner of the patch by a significant margin. It's not close. Following up, though, would probably be Dawn and Dawnbreaker, or Doom and Dawnbreaker. I'm not sure which one is better than the other. Probably Doom is a little bit better, but Doom is also, the nail that sticks out. So the B patch comes around, they kind of shot themselves in the foot by making everything 0.66. Because now they can't change those numbers, but they can change other things. They'll make them slow as shit or something, I don't know. Tidehunter, very strong. Timbersaw, shit. Incredibly low win rate. He's at 42.69%. Penis reference. Yeah, he is bad. They basically didn't do anything to help him, and the scaling that he had for his innate is also bad. They're nothing good. All hope of joy and smiles are gone forevermore. Despair and disgust awaits for the Timothy Bursaw pickers. Almost as much as the Tinker pickers. Dude, this here's ass. My first game of this patch, I played a sniper against Tinker, and like he was spamming the deploy turrets thing, and I was just face tanking them. I didn't care. They don't do enough damage at all. The defensive capability is super awkward. You can spawn a bunch and it doesn't matter, and then also you can kill them and they give you gold. So like it's really weird, man. Like I don't really know what Valve was thinking. They definitely didn't want to give him rockets back, and they needed to get rid of defense matrix, so they just sort of panicked and were like, and then they made the missile launcher thing. But like it's ass. Like it's really bad. His win rate dropped by 6.5%. And it was already below 50. He now has a 42% win rate. Might be the lowest in the game. I've probably said that for a couple heroes now, but this time I fucking mean it. Like, Tinker is ass, dude. Turns out reducing the cooldown of rearm isn't enough. Like, who would have thought? Oh, man. And he doesn't benefit from the knockback changes for Warp Flare, because now if they're further away from you, they don't get even further away. So, yeah. Tiny. You know, they did a bunch of things to him, and it wound up doing nothing. They made it so that his shard is now the sort of toss upgrade. I can't remember the name of the facet. Crash Landing, I think it was. They offloaded that to his shard, made it so that his shard is no longer permanent tree, got rid of Craggy, and instead gave him Insurmountable, which is, like, arguably a nerf, but, like, situationally okay, because now he gets built-in status resistance, and that's a hard stat to get. They did a bunch of things to him, and it didn't matter. His win rate dropped by 0.2%. He was already pretty bad. Dota buff numbers had him at 47%, and then down to 46.7%. Wait. Yeah. So, you know, it's nothing. It's nothing. A lot of changes. It's the same. Whatever they were trying to do with Tiny, they failed. Treant Protector, big nerfs. He cycled out. He's no longer going to be in the meta. The way that Living Armor worked before was giving you 120 max damage block at level 1. It basically meant that whatever they do to you next is not going to deal any damage. And then it reduces by 40, so it's down to 80. So whatever they do is probably not going to do any damage. And then 40, so it's going to do a little bit of damage. Now, they made it so that it's 60 damage block, which... Oof. And, you know, the damage block decrease is better now, actually. It has the same value it had at level 4, where it reduces by 20 for each hit. And at level 4, it's the same ability. But the sheer impact of Living Armor in the early game is nowhere near what it used to be. And then Eyes in the Forest got bitch slapped, dude. The max charges got decreased. The charge restore time was, like, way more than doubled. It went up by almost 2.5 times what it was. 55 to 135. Yeah. Valve is apologizing for what they did to support Treant. Speaking of apologies, Valve owes me one for Troll. Troll's win rate has not changed. Interestingly enough, on Dota buff, it's above 50%. On D2PT, this hero is dog shit, because he is. This hero is really bad right now. And the changes that they made did nothing to him. They basically made the bonus armor from his melee form conditional by requiring you to get it by having bonus attack speed. So, like, not even your normal base attack speed. You have to get the fervor stacks in order to do it. And they took away his fun facet, which I'm not happy about. And then I don't even necessarily think that his his talents are worse now too, I think. So yeah. Troll's win rate is the exact same. It went down by 0.3%, so not the exact same. Somehow it was above 50% on Dota buff, but trust me, this hero's trash, and this did not help. So Troll is in the same. Being bad. Not a big surprise. Tusk went down slightly. This is another hero who at lower MMRs really pushes his win rate down quite a bit, and that's why it's sort of relevant that I'm using Dota buff numbers here, because those numbers are more relevant for the average player than those on D2PT. He used to be at 48.44, now he's at 48.16, but it's a 0.28% change. What they did is they got rid of Drinking Buddies as a facet, and now it's an innate. And then it's a shard, so you can no longer have the upgraded Ice Armpit shards that we had before. And then Bitter Chill is still quite strong, and it's better in the lane. But, yeah. That's it. This is really all I have to say. Some just like shuffling around numbers for Tusk and giving him one of the facets by default and removing a pretty decent shard from him. That's probably what it was, because some Tusk players were using the shard as a farming tool, but obviously that's no longer an option. Underlord did not get very exciting patch notes, which is suitable. I think that if Underlord players ever got excited, they would die. That's why they pick Underlord. Very small win rate increase, 0.6. He is good, 51.2%. I think he's very low impact as far as offlaners go, but what they did in the patch is they just buffed the numbers on Firestorm and Atrophy Aura, and if the number goes up, then the numbers go up. Big surprise. Underlord is fine. He's a solid offlane choice for when you don't play offlane. And if you do play offlane and Underlord is your hero of choice, you are boring. But I like you anyway. Undying is a little bit better. They increased his base agility, which is a funny thing to do. I already thought that he was kind of in the game already, but hey. They gave him Rotting Mitts as his like demanded innate, so you can no longer pick the other one. I can't remember what the other one was, but this one is better. It's a 0.6% increase that really only comes from forcing people to pick the good facet. We're going to put him in as the same, but Undying is like fine. He's good. He's a good hero. He was already good, and they made him not good. Nice. Ursa, untouched in the patch notes, got power crept slightly. His win rate was already bad. The entirety of last patch, I was gaslit, or attempted to have been gaslit by other people telling me that Ursa was good. Never believed him. Not once, and I was right. This hero was bad the whole patch. And he's still bad. If he was good, then Valve would have nerfed him. And if he was bad, well, that sort of defeats my logic, because if he was bad, they would have buffed him. But he was bad, trust me. They straight up forgot about him. That's how ass this hero was. It went down just by the nature of power creep. So if you're curious what happened to heroes where nothing happened to them in 7.41 or 7.41a, oh wait, no. Didn't he get some slight buff in 7.41a? Whatever. Anyway, he got power crept. 0.6% decrease in his win rate. He already was bad, and now he's just not a member of the meta at all. Vengeful Spirit. She got some weird reworks. They basically just told her which one you should be mad at for killing you, and then they also made it that she benefits from both melee and ranged whenever it would be beneficial for her to benefit from that kind of thing, which is interesting. There were some like ranged only things that I think, well, no, because you could go Dragonlance on the old version of Vengeful Spirit and it would increase your attack range. I don't know. Maybe it's just clarifying that point. But yeah, they gave her the melee attack benefits facet as her thing with the boosted BAT. And then she benefits a little bit more from Vengeance Aura, and yet somehow she still got worse. I think people are just being goofy with her. I think a lot of people are now trying to play Vengeful Spirit with like Specialist Array and Dragon's Breath, which is kind of silly. Once people get over that and just continue playing her as normal, she'll probably be pretty fine. Even with the goofiness, though, she's at a 52.4% win rate on no debuff. Lower on D2PT, but hey, what can you do? Venomancer, a hero that I was super excited for. Turns out he's shit. A lot of reworks to him. Snakebite looks kind of broken, but it's one of those abilities that has an off switch where you just don't attack. Most heroes are not compelled to attack. And, like, there maybe are situations where, like you pop Satanic, and so you want to attack. Well, Satanic also solves the problem of taking all that magic damage every time you attack. So in a weird way, some of the solutions are just applied to you anyway. And also Snakebite is weak to the rest of the things that Venomancer is already weak to. Specifically Dispels. The only thing that isn't dispellable on this hero anymore is his ultimate, Noxious Plague. And then at level 25, you can make Snakebite undispellable. But as a new ability, it just sort of isn't quite good enough yet, because it has that built-in off switch. His win rate is tanked as a result. You can no longer max out Poison Sting and be super obnoxious. You no longer have the option of like avoiding Venomous Gale if your opponents have a Dispel in lane, because you can't just sink all of your points into Poison Sting and your wards and hope it works out. And you have no way of forcing your wards to be stronger by also getting more points in Poison Sting. All you can do is make them tankier. Their damage output from Poison Sting is not something you can rush anymore, because it scales off of your level, not with an ability. So just some problems with that. And then his win rate has dropped significantly in general matchmaking from 51.25 to 47.83. And that's really bad. That's a fat drop. So he is not really pickable in the current patch. Sorry. Viper had a low win rate, just under 49%. It remains just under 49%. Viper, they did a couple of different things. They increased his agi gain, and they made Predator better, which is his innate. That gives you more damage based on how much health the opponent is missing. But yeah, that's it. They offloaded both facets and gave one of them back to him in the form of an Aghanim Scepter, which is pretty shitty compensation as well. That's probably what it actually is. So his win rate dropped barely, but like it's not that big of a deal. It's just sort of moving his power to different locations. Physical Viper is no longer a thing though, because they took out the make him universal talent, which is probably good for the game as a whole. Visage. You know, they gave him his Aghanim Scepter for free. Who would have thought? Yeah, he now can just have flying movement all the time. And they buffed familiars. They're a little bit more vulnerable at early levels, but they're tankier at later levels, and then the cooldown got decreased slightly. Yeah, this could have been the chance that Valve could have taken to finally make Visage no longer secretly OP, but they didn't. Yeah, he went up above the 52.5 range. I think Visage is like good now. I thought for sure that they were going to nerf the shit out of Soul Assumption, but I guess the nerf is eliminating the facet where when he gets kills, he winds up getting bonus gold, and then I think it also affects the damage in some way, but I don't remember. Yeah, Visage is good. He is good this patch. Void Spirit. This is another hero where they did a whole bunch of stuff. They basically completely, well, they didn't completely rework his innate. It's still intrinsic edge. But they made a lot of number changes to it, and then they nerfed the Aether Remnant by making it no longer a dewarding tool. And they buffed Resonant Pulse to make him more core focused instead of whatever the fuck 9 class is doing. Little crackhead. He's the same. His win rate dropped by 0.3. It's whatever. It's still above 50%. He's fine. Pretty much the same analysis for Warlock. They barely did anything. All they did was change the scaling off of his innate, and that was it. But Warlock was already a pretty solid hero, and he remains a pretty, well, he was like barely above 50% in general matchmaking, which was higher on D2PT, I'm pretty sure. And then now he's below 50%, but like barely. It's a 0.2% change, so who cares? Warlock is the same. Weaver. I'm speeding up because we're almost done. Weaver went from 50% exactly to 47.32. It's a small nerf. I think this is more of a result of like people need to figure out what to do. Like Rewoven was a very good innate that you barely had to play around. You could like forget about how his old innate works because it increased your attack range and that's what you were doing anyway. So you could kind of just forget about it. But now you have to actively play around Threads of Fate, which I think is contributing to the fact that his win rate is lower, but also it's just maybe not as good. I was really excited for this, but unfortunately the Thread of Fate is limited. It's one per hero. I thought it was like, you could have a shitload. I thought you could put like 5 of them on one hero. That's why I thought Weaver was so broken. But turns out there's a limit. So yeah. And you also have to remain within range of them for enough time for them to cast spells on you. So it's a little bit more of a hoop to jump through than I thought. But still, what can you do? It's going to be a little bit of time. I expect Weaver's win rate to slowly creep up to probably the 49% mark. And then plateau from there. He might get some love in the B patch. Help my boy. I like playing Weaver. Wind Ranger. Ugh, man. Even the buffs that they gave her in 7.41a are not enough. Tailwind is extremely low impact, the new version of her innate. And the nerfs to Windrun are extremely meaningful. They did reduce the cooldown on it, but they got rid of the incredibly unfair Aghanim Scepter where you're invis and attacking at the same time. And they decreased the movement speed bonus, which is a really important element of Windrun, second only to the fact that you get 100% evasion. The Tailwind facet is just not good. It's not good. Her old innate was low impact anyway. It was the one where her movement speed cap was 600, and then also she couldn't be slowed past a certain number. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, tough. It could be fun. It could be fun. It won't. Getting rid of Killshot really hurt the hero, though. And giving it back as a level 25 talent is like a slap in the face, because it's like, who gives a shit at that point? You're Wind Ranger, you kill in a binary state at that late into the game, because you hit ulti, and if they die, they die, and if they don't, they don't. You don't need an execute off of your W in order to kill them at that point. It just sort of misses the mark on why that facet was good. Winter Wyvern, she's kind of the same. She has a slightly above 50% win rate in general matchmaking. Not a whole lot to say. When I saw the Arctic Burn change, where you're able to reapply over and over again, I thought to myself, like, wow, this hero is going to be broken, because they gave her a piece of the Aghanim Scepter for free. But in reality, it's not that big of a deal. And the previous burn duration was 5 seconds, now it's only 3. So now, what it really is you have to apply it. You can't just hit it once and then get the full benefits like you could before. You have to apply it at least twice, or otherwise it's actually worse than it was before. And they nerfed the movement slow, so it's harder to do that. So, like, in a weird way, they made it a lot worse. On the bright side, they did give her, like, basically Tome of Knowledge. Like, she has Elworm Zeta, as her neutral item that she starts the game with. And you can use it to, after 10 minutes, it has like some weird rules. You can use it to basically get a free level and then also increase your int, which is cool. Yeah, there you go. You can also have level 5 stuff, which is cool as well. I can't really think of any individual ability that you would want. Maybe if you were going a mid Wyvern, you were doing it like 9 back in the Tundra days, you would get a 5th level in Archburn, but like, no one's doing that anyway, so who cares? Yeah. She's fine. She's fine. She still has an above 51% win rate. The Doctor. The Good Doctor was barely nerfed. I thought it would be a little bit more meaningful. I think his new talents are much more conducive towards magical fantasy land than anything else. And they gave him one of his facets in the form of it's the one where Maledict, when it ends, it explodes or whatever, or if the person would die, it explodes as a damage projectile. They gave him that in exchange for the Death Ward attack range, which helps deal with him a little bit. That is actually a real meaningful nerf. And then his level 25 talent, where he gets +6 paralyzing cask bounces, that's not always going to be relevant. When you're level 25 as Witch Doctor, you have better things to do because you have an Aghanim Scepter. So his win rate dropped slightly. It went from 52 to 51.5. He's still solidly playable. But yeah, he's a little bit worse than he was before. Wraith King. Another hero very similar to Lifestealer who went on a bit of a roller coaster. I think he is up here. Well, yeah, he's up here because his win rate is 55%. Why am I even thinking about it? Wraith King is extremely strong. Being able to pick up a shard in the mid game very casually because you have your Radiance and your Skellies. The Skellies were nerfed. It makes it a little bit not as good. But being able to pick up both of those and have access to Spectral Blade means that your kind of problem with Wraith King, which was burst damage, right? You're not like a PA where you can hop on and immediately kill someone. You usually have to hit them a couple times. Spectral Blade basically gives you an echo of your crit because it's guaranteed to be your crit when you blink on the silly little Dazzle. Well, maybe Dazzle's kind of a bad example because he's an example of why Spectral Blade wasn't that good to have as a facet in place of the Boner Boys, because he would have time to cast Shallow Grave on himself. But for other heroes, it's just a ridiculous, like, effective DPS increase. It's very good. It's very good to have both of your facets. So yeah, Gigabuff for Wraith King. He is very, very good. And even after the 7.41A nerfs, he's still very, very powerful. He's a great hero. There's a reason his pick rate skyrocketed. He's great. And Zeus. Zeus crossed a very important threshold. His win rate increased by 2.22, and it means that he's above 51.5%. He went from a hero who statistically loses the game to a hero who wins. Base strength increased, base damage increased, base armor decreased, base movement speed decreased. For some reason, they think Zeus should be standing his ground. But they buffed him in a lot of like really small ways. The scaling for static field is pretty relevant, and it also guarantees that you pick that one as opposed to the alternative. Arc Lightning is easier to spam now at early levels because the mana cost, well, it's worse to spam, but it's higher impact. It now deals over 100 damage at level 1, which is another important threshold to cross. Lightning Bolt, the true sight radius increased, makes him more distinctly good against Invis heroes. And now you can pop Blade Mail and Nimbus will hurt Zeus, which is funny. The big thing, though, is that Thunder God's Wrath, you can now no longer hide from it. So heroes who are untargetable and still invisible, by which it means Smoke of Deceit, you still deal damage to it. So you can't run anymore from Zeus, which is pretty significant. So yeah, a very relevant level 15 talent as well. -4 second on the Arc Lightning cooldown, which was stupid once you got Shard and you never win it. Now you can get -20% on the mana cost and cooldown of your Q, which is very relevant still. Not so much the cooldown if you have Shard for farming purposes, but it's a good way of constantly proccing Static Field, and it also helps you farm on top of the Shard that you already have, and his level 25 talent is funny. You get 3 charges of Heavenly Jump. Not that that's relevant in very many games, but hey. Zeus is now a very solid pick, and if you're like me, you can pick him when you roll Q when you get mid, because no one likes playing that position. So there you go. This is the tier list for the winners and losers of 7.41 and 7.41A. A reminder that the bulk of this is based on stats and the win rate change, but keep in mind that if a hero went from, like Terrorblade's case, was complete ass and is still bad, but not complete ass anymore, they're still not going to be a part of the meta. You can think of this as more of a prediction of how relevant this hero is going to be. This also isn't geared towards any one particular MMR. And also Monkey King is an exception to that rule because his win rate is still bad, but I do think he's good. But yeah, that's the idea of this tier list. If you want the meta at a glance, you can look at this top tier and you can see almost entirely core heroes that are broken. A lot of cores are broken right now. There's the only support up here is Silencer. Now that I think about it, Coddle is a mid. Coddle's a mid. And Sniper support is removed from the game. So these are the heroes that I think are going to run the patch, and you better get real familiar with before B patch comes out. Cycled in are heroes that got significantly buffed and either crossed an important win rate threshold or were already good and are now very good. These are sort of the designated meta heroes right now by Valve. Will the player base make them designated meta? Who knows? No one picks Io. No one picks Naga either. But these are heroes that, from a statistical perspective, should be part of the meta, and you can definitely pick them up with confidence. It's the same are heroes that, you know, things are different about them. In fact, some of them got like some meaningful reworks, like Oracle, for example, with a brand new Aghanim's Scepter and a buffed innate, but it didn't actually have that big of a statistical impact. Heroes that were bad in the previous patch and are here are still bad. Heroes that were playable, pickable, right, in that barely above 50 to 51.5% range, and they're still here, they're pickable and they're fine. Some heroes went up, some heroes went down, but only by a very small percentage. That doesn't really impact much. A good chunk of these heroes, if the Queen of Pain players have a good day, Queen of Pain's win rate would be higher, and if they have a bad day, I would say not to pick her, and that's the kind of statistical range we're looking at. Troll Warlord is here because Dota buff is stupid. Relegated. These are the heroes that Valve has pointed and said, not you this time. So a bunch of these heroes have had significant win rate drops. This can be due to reworks. This can be due to not taking advantage of the new items. This can be due to falling prey to some of the heroes that are up in the very top tier. It's a variety of reasons why a hero could be relegated, but overall, you can only pick these heroes if you're a bit of a specialist on them, and even then, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Ceremonially removed, these heroes are unplayable garbage in the pub scene. I would not pick these heroes. Invoker, Shadow Fiend, Largo, all of them have fallen from grace of where they were in the previous patch by a significant margin, and some of them are a bit mysterious, like Invoker. Still not 100% sure why he fell so low. But regardless, these heroes are bad. Do not pick them. You're going to lose. It's longer than I expected. Well, that's the tier list. Thank you very much for watching, and peace on planet Earth.